Well, welcome to the Tour de France today, tackling what is said to be one of the deciding stages. Mind you, tomorrow they've got some more tough mountains to climb, so perhaps today, although it does have at the very end that enormous climb up the Alpe d'Huez, it may be just one that we've used to burn off a few legs. We shall have to wait and see. With me today, I'm very pleased to welcome Stephen Roche, who will be helping with the commentary. We've got 4 hours in the saddle here, a long time for us to be in action. I hope you at home settle back and enjoy what is going to be, I think, a super day's bike racing. Again, the sun is shining, a very hot day indeed ahead for the riders. And if you watched yesterday's activity, you'll know that it was very hot. In fact, confirmed in the end, the temperatures reached 41 degrees. So no wonder they were drinking water all day long like it's going out of fashion. And I think the same will apply today. The 125 kilometers taking en route, a couple of second category climbs, 2 third category climbs, and of course the Haute category at the Alpe d'Huez at the very end. And well, I suppose Alpe d'Huez, Haute category, the only word that you can use in England is indescribable, although they do describe it very clearly with its 21 bends on the way up to the top. And so it's probably one of the most written about climbs in the whole of the Tour de France. But this year, although I've just said we've got 2 second category and 2 third category climbs before we hit the big one at the end, it's not normally as tough as we've had in previous years. The stage relatively short, 125 kilometers, and starting out here at Gap, we're already 815 meters above sea level, and we're going to finish at the Alpe d'Huez 1,860 meters above sea level. That's 1,000 meters. They'll end up higher tonight than they started today. That ski resort then is the place they're aiming for. The riders at the moment, if you think they're sort of joking along and not really racing, that's perfectly true. They're in what they call the neutralized section, and today you're actually going to watch the whole of the race, right the way from the start through the neutralized section, and then we get underway after some 8 minutes of riding out towards the outside of the town. And then the gun goes, and my goodness, they've got a tremendous climb. 5 kilometers is the top of the Col Bayard, the first of the second category climbs, and the man in the spotted jersey, I'm sure, Chiappucci, we should watch out for him, and possibly a chance for Andy Hampson to come back and try and snaffle some points. Well, Stephen, I said you were here with me, you settled down, you had a chance to look at these riders rolling along. I mean, this is probably the fun part of the day for all these chaps.
Well, it's all the fun part, but sometimes it can be a dangerous part because nobody knows before the start actually goes whether it's going to be an easy start or a fast start. So normally the first few kilometers in the neutralized section are normally very, very nervous. Everybody waiting and watching, hoping that nobody can go away right from the start.
Well, yes, we've had a lot of crashes in this tour, as in the two previous years. When you get the thick end of 200 riders all bunched up, particularly on those 11 early stages when they're relatively flat. I mean, Kravtsov came down the bank, Miller came off. I mean, what's it like when it's packed like that at the early part of the tour?
Well, early on the tour, like, everyone wants to be the front because in previous years, the first few stages, we've often seen groups going away and taking out 6-7 minutes from the group. So everybody wants to try and get away. So everybody wants to try to be the front. So with the result is in crosswinds, or especially in the early part of the tour, you have a lot of inter-town racing and everything else. It becomes very, very dangerous.
Well, let's hope all the riders stay upright today, and the danger, I think, is going to be from the sun beating down and the crowds along the route. We understand the thick end of 300,000 spectators are jammed on the Alpe d'Huez. They've been there, some of them, for 2 days now, and there's probably something like 100,000 Dutchmen there. They call it the furthest southernmost point of Holland, I think, at this time of the year. They've all come down in the coaches and in their camper vans to see the riders today. And of course, Stephen Rooks and Gert-Jan Tunis, who watched the program yesterday, beginning to show that they are in with a chance of probably getting that climb today. Because it's so much shorter, I've got a feeling today, Stephen, this is probably going to be a race, like a one-off race, to see who can get the top of the Alpe d'Huez. And there's going to be a contest for the yellow jersey, obviously, but I've got an idea 1 or 2 chaps like Rooks and Tunis have come here just to get that one today.
Certainly they have. Like during the winter, Gert Tunis was rumoured to have climbed Alpe d'Huez 20 times. And at the moment, actually, Gert Tunis actually holds the record time for going from the foot of Alpe d'Huez to the top. And we believe during the winter he took 2 minutes off it. Wow. So I'm sure now today that this is going to be his day. This day he wants to show to the Dutch people and to everybody that the problems he had last year with his health problems, he hopes to show them they're all finished now. Well,
that's, he did, what, 44 minutes, I think, at the time, so he's got it down to 42 now. So 3/4 an hour climb. I mean, that's for the fast one. Of course, the chaps at the back, they'll probably take him another 15 minutes longer to get up the climb. The joke was, by the way, well, the Dutch chaps were telling me the other day that Jerry Knateman holds the record, in fact, for going up the Alpe d'Huez. The fastest ever. He started at the back. He used to finish about 2/3 about the pack. He didn't ride up. He was hand-slung by all the Dutch all the way up and collecting fines en route. But that won't count. Well, there they are in the back of the pack. And, well, you can see them stretching the legs. This today going to be quite an interesting day indeed. There we are, Panasonic's at the back of this one. They haven't done much in the Tour so far, so they don't really have a climber in the ranks, do they? So I don't know what we're going to see of them. They probably have to wait until we get back out onto the flat.
Going back to the hand slings up Alpe d'Huez, this now in the last 2 or 3 years has been cut out every year more and more because they put in hidden commissaires on the hill. They also have a commissaire and a helicopter. There's more on motorbikes. So everybody does. Before you just get a penalty. Now you can get a penalty, and you can also be sent out of the race. So it can become a very, very costly affair now.
Yes, and the riders, I know they don't like getting the pushes up there, but of course also there's a lot of policemen along the route as well. I suppose what time to rob a bank, it's a time when the Tour de France goes near where you are, because all the police, the gendarmes, seem to be about every sort of 50 metres. There's a gendarme on the route. And lying the way, you can see loads of them down there already. They've about every 5 metres at the moment. Well, the little leisurely ride out, these 8 minutes or so of quietness at the front. We've got a bit of a Panasonic sandwich, one on the front and one on the back, and the rest of the pack taking it jolly easy. Just to bring you up to date, by the way, whilst they're trundling out yesterday, if you haven't caught up, Sean Yates is out of the race. He didn't actually start yesterday, and if any of you have been getting a copy of Lake Keep, for many days they draw a line through the riders that are eliminated for one reason or another, and for about 3 or 4 days, according to Lake Keep, Yates wasn't in. They got a line through his name. Somebody stuck it out wrongly way back about the 8th stage, I think it was. Finally, they put him back in yesterday, only in fact he didn't start, so technically he was out. Anyway, today they put a line through his name again, so bad luck to Sean Yates, not starting today. Another one missing today, Sammy Morales. He was outside the time limit yesterday. He came in 24 minutes and 46 seconds down on the Etty, who for the 3rd consecutive day brought home a success for his team, the Ad Steer team. So that was out as far as Sammy Morales was concerned. And Rob Harmeling is still staggering on in the final place. He came in last yesterday, 169th. He's still in 169th position. He's what we call the Lanterne Rouge. And that used to be a special award given to last man to finish, a red light. But at the moment, it's Harmeling at the back of the overall field. He's now, let's see, 2 hours, 29 minutes and 45 seconds down, so he certainly is no threat at all. And there, just towards the back, I must get the family in here, 167th is Laurent Roche. He's now 2 hours, 5 minutes and 30 seconds. Have you spoken to your brother recently, Stephen? How's he feeling?
Well, he's feeling very, very good at the moment. A bit kind of, he's aware of the difficulties of facing him today and tomorrow, so he's kind of fixed himself now a kind of second last event of the Tour de France, which means to get through the Alps now, and once he gets through the Alps today and tomorrow, he can finish the Tour de France.
Very good.
And be the only Irish survivor this year.
Yes, I know. Well, you've all had your trouble. I mean, there you were in the toilet, and they gave you the wrong time before the start of the team time trial. I was very disappointed. And of course, with the stomach troubles, the bacteria that certainly has been found in Verhoeven's stomach, and the effect then that took the PDMs out. We were all very worried when we saw the time trial times, how all the PDMs are dropping back. And of course, next day they all had this sickness, and one by one they went out of the race. And sorry for Sean Kelly, who I understand has decided that he's not going to retire at the end of this year of the Tour de France, because one time he was saying he wanted to go out of this year. Now he's saying, if all being well, he wants to ride next year because he wants to go out with success. And I'm damn certain he could have challenged Abdul Jafarov for that green jersey this year. He was poised just before he got to the mountains when the sickness stopped him.
Definitely, Sean's had a very, very unlucky year this year with the broken collarbone at the start of the year, putting him out of the Classics. And now, unfortunately, because of stomach problems, they're out of the Tour de France. Whereas possibly after having a bad early season because of injury, he could have had a very good tour this year.
Well, I understand they've rolled through the start proper, but still nobody has decided that they're going to have a go for this one. Won't be long though, 5 kilometres to the top of the Col Bayard. And if Sean's watching this programme back at home, or anybody gets a message to him, wish him well on his recovery. Look forward to seeing him back in action, and possibly might see him in the Wincanton. I hope so. I understand that you're looking forward to riding the Wincanton as well, Stephen.
Hopefully that'll be my first race back, I hope.
Right, that's the next of the big classics for the World Cup. And Sorensen, we understand he's been doing some light training as well, so he might well be back over defending his World Cup lead for Ad Steer, who are having a very fine year. Sorensen, if you've been following the Tour de France, or if you haven't and you've been on holiday and you've just come back, let me say he was a man who had the yellow jersey for something like 4 days early on before he crashed out and cracked his collarbone. So the yellow steer rider now back in the Wincanton, which is a race down at Brighton. Slightly changed the course this year, but still the Ditchling Beacon to climb. Our own version in the south of England of the Alpe d'Huez, but a very mini one, a small one it is too. Well, one or two just stretching your legs at the front, and I think we've got to look out for Chiappucci, who's probably going to take an early dive off the front. He's either going to stay somewhere near the action. They don't want to slide too far away. Dmitry Konishev, who's quite a useful climber, this fellow. Had a relatively quiet year, though, this year, but I think he's a man that we've got to watch out for today. A bit of an entrepreneur when it comes for racing, isn't he? There we are. And, oh, that's Zach Herrera with him. Let's wait till we get a bit closer. And these two riders just easing the way off the front. And I might have thought it that the rest will start to come back up as well. So the pack, that was a nice little 10-15 second. This is the lazy way of going away, nonchalantly riding down the road, and the rest even too nonchalantly letting you go. Someone will decide they've got to do something about this one. And I think rather more by good luck than good fortune, they've drifted off the front at the moment, and Lotto trying to restore some of the glory towards their problems. And de Klerk there, having had the spotted jersey, the King of the Mountains, moving up already on the classifications for the mountain climbers. He's still there or thereabouts, but he's got a lot to do. I don't think he's going to catch up with the overall leader because he's dropped back a bit, way back now. He's in 9th place on the King of the Mountains with 78 points, is Pedro de Klerk. So there we are, 62. And there he is. That's Peter de Klerk and of the Lotto team. So there is Konishev up in front, and we've got this one rider from the Raillo team. So as they're climbing out now, in fact, I was saying earlier on that we got down to 169 riders. We are in fact 168 riders, because we understand that the Lieti, who won the race yesterday, has been in an accident. His bicycle, he's run into a child, I think it is, and has gone into hospital and is unable to start. So he's back in gap. That's disappointing for the Alice Steer, who are one of the teams that have got all their men, sorry, all bar Sorensen intact. They're back down now to just 7 men, and so from one day of high drama and great success as far as he's concerned, we've now lost him, the winner of yesterday's stage, now having had that crash in Gap in hospital. We hope it's very brief to him, and we don't know about the child, but hope make a quick recovery from both of them. Bad news then for Lieti, and the rest of the pack then easing their way out. These 3 men just gently drifting off the front, and it is gentle. Peter de Klerk at the back, Konishev in front, and the rest of the field, I think, any moment now should respond. De Klerk isn't bothered, just sitting there, turning the wheels round.
It is gentle, but it is going up. you can't forget that.
Yes, you keep reminding me, because you know what it's like out there at the moment. And I think, you know, this early in the race as well, Stephen, they just come out. I mean, they've had their massage and the meal and so on, but it's a bit of a tester, isn't it?
Well, they've already done like 15 days, so everybody is saying to themselves now, well, how many days are left? How many chances we'll have of getting a stage win? Maybe they let me go. So everybody wants to have a go early on now. Yes,
and I think I saw Cavallet moving up as well. Yes, the RMOs are beginning to get near the front, and likewise Carrera to probably help little Chiappucci when he comes up. He'll have to come up of his own accord. It's getting a bit fiercer, a little faster, and there they go up toward the top. There are 3 men away, still drifting off the front, and those hairpin bends, they'll be able to look back and see how far it is. We're going to put the watch on them to see what the gap is like as they're climbing up the hill, and there they go. What a great shot that is.
Eurosport.
These are the 3 riders on the front then for the 3 men in front. The gap has gone up to about 20 seconds at the moment. Wait for official confirmation of that one as the rest of the pack now start to react up in front then. These 3 breakaways just drifting off, and it's a long, steady climb all the way up. More information about Lieti. We understand there's a broken leg involved, and helicopters had to whip him off to hospital, so it's getting worse than we thought, and that's going to keep him out of action some time. There we are. Mixed bag, there is. Chiappucci, 3rd from the front, and a familiar sight to find him up near the front of the pack. I must say that this tour so far, Chiappucci's been an absolute revelation, like it was last year, Stephen.
Definitely, and in a way you can say, lucky enough, Chiappucci is there, because who knows, would Interhan have attacked in the Pyrenees the other day if Chiappucci had not done all the damage before? and after the Tourmalet. But one thing I don't understand now is why Carrera are taking the course in their own hands now. Why don't they leave it to Banesto? But Capucci is a very, very courageous rider, and he's very, very determined, and possibly wants to show Indurain that he's bluffing a little bit and hoping to show him that he's ready for him on Alpe d'Huez.
Yes, he has his own sort of tactics, doesn't he? I mean, he's not very predictable, is he?
No, but he doesn't care about who's in front or who's behind him. He's his own man, and when he has got good legs, he can prove it. And I think one thing Greg LeMond realised the other day after the race, after the stage of the Pyrenees, he actually said that I take back everything I've said about Capucci. He's really a good guy. So,
well, talk about good guys. Yesterday, come on, Steve, what do you think about Le Mans when he took off yesterday before the finish?
No, I think that doesn't. What can you think about it? Like the morning he was saying he's got too many red blood cells or white blood cells, and in the afternoon then he goes off the front. It was maybe, you know, you can never say. Sometimes you get into a race and all of a sudden you're in a position to go and you just go.
And another one going off the front now. We've got Francisco Espinosa easing himself up the front to try and collect those three men who are ahead of him. And it's a long old drag, this one. It certainly is, stretching the legs, drifting up towards the top, and Konichet's still the driving power, I think, of this one. Let's have a look in a minute, see where they've got to. Well, he's closing the gap down fairly well, which says that presumably the reaction will start coming pretty quickly now.
If you take a close look at his bike, you can see he's already on the small ring. And the small ring today possibly be about 39 or 41 and 16 on the back. So you can imagine that the ingredient of the hill, it's fairly important. Yeah.
And what sort of gear do you run at the Alpe d'Huez then, Steve? What will that be on?
It depends. Depends on how you feel when you get there. But the first strong rider going up on the first 5 kilometers of Alpe d'Huez, I'd say today we'll be using a 42, maybe 22.
42, right.
And then the fella that's down, trying to get over, will be on a 39, 22, 23.
Yeah.
But it's only the first 5 kilometers that are very steep. Then it doesn't kind of level it after that, but he'll be going onto a gear a little bit smaller than, meaning 42, 21 or thereabouts.
Right, so that'll be somewhere ahead of us. We're going to be here bringing you the action from the Tour de France. If you've just switched on, we've only come some 5 kilometres up this second category climb, already stretching the field now. This is the Col Bayard. They will be at the top at 1,210 metres. In fact, they'll cover something like about 400 metres up vertical distance of climbing since they started in Gap. So it's almost straight up as far as this field is concerned, and I'm sure will disturb the morning's breakfast somewhat.
You can see there for the moment the pressure's on now with some guys going backwards while some lads are going to the front. It's no longer all bunched up.
Yes, and panic stations, I suppose, at the top if you don't make it. Fortunately, it sort of runs all down a bit, although we've got a sprint. And I wonder what Abu Japrof's got, if he can make his way over the top, because we've got a sprint after 14 kilometres at La Fère-en-Champ-Sart. And so he, I think, looking down there, one of his green jerseys got to. He took a bit of a pasting yesterday, Abu Japrof. He came in a bit down and struggling somewhat, as he's been doing most of the hilly days. But yesterday was fairly flat. I thought he'd done a bit better, so I think probably he's beginning to find it a bit hard for him. The worst sufferer yesterday, by the way, was Jean-Francois Bernard. He came in 158th, 14 minutes and 25 seconds down on the winner of the stage, Lietti, and he's dropped now out of the top 10. Jean-Francois Bernard, who was in 9th spots, now dropped to 18th as these riders are winding it up for the top of the col.
It's good to see the Colombians now back in the race, because we haven't seen very much of them since the start of the Tour de France in Lyon 2 weeks ago. But I suppose you can say before they got to the mountains, they had 10 days in the flat, doing like ferocious speeds of 47 kilometers an hour every day. So I suppose they're very tired when they hit the mountains last week in the Pyrenees.
They're not really used to that sort of thing, are they, in Colombia?
Well, yeah, used to the heat. That's one good thing going for them. But the heat and the speed and all the crashes and everything else all around them, I'm sure could not help them very much.
Well, Konichet, who was adventurous enough to go away at the start of the hill, it does give you some idea. It is up and up, isn't it? It doesn't get the effect of the gradient, but you can see that from the way he's pushing his gear around. Or not pushing it around, as the case may be.
You can see the effect of, after 10 days, 12 days racing, it can have on you. Normally, Konichet would be one of the best riders on a hill like this, whereas after 10, 12 days, it's a survival of the fittest, really. Whereas at the moment, he's probably fairly fit, but very tired, I'd say.
Yeah, of course, the sickness is one thing that gets me, isn't it? The first few days, Marston was struggling. He was very sick and has been taking time to recover. I understand that Tunisia, also in the Pyrenees, said that he had some orange juice that was off, and that affected him as well. Because once your stomach goes, you've got a hell of a time to get back, and nobody sort of waits for you, do they?
No. Well, we always say that the Tour de France, if it lasted 2 weeks, it could be a different story altogether, because for 2 weeks, anybody, well, any reasonable rider can get through it. But the last week, everyone survives on the reserves. So if you have a lot of reserves, you can get through it.
Well, there is the reserves out with the stars and stripes. It looks like the crowd's already beginning to gather on the side of the road. Greg LeMond and, of course, the Motorola team, many of them from United States, getting some encouragement. A lady waving the stars and stripes. So here are Vargas, 38th overall, no great consequence. And they're coming up to them. So it looked really gentle where they drifted off, but the big guns have absolutely timed this one to perfection. They've reeled in the breakaways, and there we go. In fact, where's Peter de Klerk? I haven't seen him. Has he gone away or been caught? We'll be having a chat there, and I've not seen what's happened to de Klerk. So they got Connor back. Let's see if the camera picks up de Klerk. He was one of the other ones that went off the front as well. But right in the centre of the picture, looks like still little... oh, Sevi Ballesteros, my goodness. Straight from the open into the open air. So I wonder what he thinks of this lot. Hard way to make money, I suppose.
I'm sure he's saying to himself now, that I took up golfing when I was a kid.
It's a great sport in Ireland too, isn't it, Stephen, eh?
Oh, it is. It's a very, very growing sport now also, yeah.
Yeah, I know when we have the Tour of Ireland, the old Nissan there, the Greg LeMond comes across, he always brings his bloody golf clubs and disappears before the end of the race. Perhaps he might finish this there. There's Albert Bouvet, a very old racing cyclist who then turned to being one of the chaps with the ping-pong bats on the motorcycle. Now he's sitting in the comfort of the car as one of the course directors. Yep, so Carrera doing quite a bit of work there for us, Benestos as well. And Stephen Rook's beginning to come through. Any predictions for today, Stephen? Can I put you on the spot? We've got a long time to go. If anybody that you think might be in for a win today?
Well, I think it's anybody who puts their neck on the line on any one stage of this year's Tour de France is really taking a big risk, because I think it's very difficult to predict what can happen in a day's stage, because just look at Greg LeMond yesterday for a typical example. Yesterday morning, everyone thought he was going to climb off, and he comes in and finishes second in the stage. So I think today is anybody's stage, really.
It's the same with the race all the way through, isn't it? The press were full of, like, at least 20 names they thought might do well, of which 6 they thought could do well, and you can perm any lot from that one to try and predict the winner in the Champs-Élysées. There we are, the board showing not far at the top of the climb.
We get the feeling now that there is possibly a new generation coming through, like with Capucci and Johan and these guys. This is possibly one of the first years we see this new generation coming through.
Well, new generation, I must say, you're not that old, Steve, at the moment, although, of course, we all remember way back in '87 when he won the Tour of Italy, Tour de France, and the World Championship all in one go. The opposition seems to get harder and harder, doesn't it, as years go by? I must say you did it easily, because you had to beat some good people then, but you look back at the days when Merckx and Anquetil and, I mean, I go back to the copy days, just how old I am, that there were just a few star riders would pick a certain events, and the calendar wasn't so long. You know, the pressures must change remarkably now as far as you're concerned.
Well, you can never compare one tour with another tour or one World Championship with another World Championship, because on the day nothing is the same. So the distance is never the same, the stage lengths are never the same. So you can never compare them, really. And
we're getting toward the top of the climb, and the action's underway. I wonder if we're going to get a bit of break over the top of this one.
That's Rose Gabastani having a go.
And quite a useful rider.
Very useful, but very disappointing in a way, because he's a lot of class. He's of my generation. He's been promising for the last 4 or 5 years, and has never really. He's done a stage here and there, but never come out with the goods everyone thought he was going to have. He looks very well on the bike. He can ride very, very strong, but never seems to get himself very much further. Yeah, well, he's going to try and get away off the top of this lot and take the Prime at the top of this hill. He hasn't been featuring very much in the King of the Mountains. He's just been there or thereabouts. I'm just trying to look where he is on general classification. Certainly he's a long way down, and of no worry to the rest of the pack here. I can see the banner in the distance. It's some sort of false flat here that's strung them out considerably. Beautiful little dam there to allow the water to congregate to the top of this hill. There he's over the top in first place. So Rose Gabastani has taken first spot. It looks like Chiappucci second, and I think one of the RMO riders was behind him. We'll probably wait for official confirmation of that one. It should come up on our screens, we hope so, but it looked to me that Chiappucci went over in second place on that first climb of the day. Yes, there he is. Capucci, some rider are the same. Like there he is going for the overall classification, and there he is going out for a sprints in the second category climb. Like he's really got plenty of panache.
And always, likewise too, here's one that shows us is going away yet again. He's been having a little dabble at the front every day, and so Eduardo shows us, stage winner the Tour de France last year, has moved off toward the front. They've also got with them from the RMO team, we just got a picture on there, Eric Carrictou, who's also an extremely good climber indeed. That's a nice little useful move, but are they going to persist, Stephen?
I wouldn't think so, because everybody knows that with Capucci there's very little chance of getting away.
Well, yesterday, that was a cracking race yesterday when we had all those number ones out there, Fignon and Bugno and Chiappucci, Tunisa, Rooks. It was just absolutely remarkable how they let that lot drift away.
It's remarkable how actually Indurain missed out, because normally when you're a leader like that, you can keep your eye on all the top riders, but he let them all go away all in one group, so it was incredible. Really, he missed it himself.
Yeah. I wonder if that was a testing move by those riders, just to try and tire out the Bonestos with a chase ready for today. It does seem to be rather predictable the way they shot over that climb and decided to put the hammer down, and they were all really just driving it, and they just couldn't pull them back either, could they?
No.
So this little pack beginning to form at the front, and
well, possibly one of the tactics could be from the other teams, the likes of Carrera and the team of Bugno and Ariastea, would be to draw out the team riders of Indurain, make them ride as much as they can before hitting the foot of Alpe d'Huez, so that when the heat really comes on, they start fighting it out for the honours on top of Alpe d'Huez, that Indurain will have little or none teammates left to help him.
Yeah. I remember last year, I think it was last year, when going up to Alpe d'Huez, he absolutely buried himself for Delgado along the bottom to Bourg d'Oisans, and he did all the driving at the front, on the front, and then he just blew in a big star by the time he got on the climb. He did tremendous. Oh look, Chiappucci's up there as well. My God, I'm just writing all the little numbers down to make sure we've got them. And what do we find? Not only do we find Chiappucci, but we also find that Ariastea jumped a man across. Now if they're trying to win a stage today as well, that's Roberto Conti. They've got to get some really good climbers going. What's the little gap between them and... Oh, they're all coming back at them now. I wouldn't think they'd let them go too far. Here they are, and the long string, those are mounted in front of them. The Alpe d'Huez still is there at the end of this tour. They've probably done about 12 kilometres, a long way to go yet.
Eurosport.
There are two men that have managed to get away from that pack. There's a long string behind. The gaps are already opening up, and this is really surprising that nobody seems to have hounded them down, but they're still going for it. The rider from the Toshiba squad 183 is Thierry Bourguignon, and he was up there on the top of that climb, and he's looking back now, but the speed at which they're coming down, the riders behind them have got to do a lot of chasing. This is just flat out all the way. And look at that speedometer. That is some pedalling. Gosh. Very difficult to get back up under those circumstances, I should think. Look at that string. Phenomenal.
Going very, very fast. But those two guys in the front, the guy from Helvetia is Winterberger. He's a very, very good descender also. And once he gets the 12 going with Bourguignon, the two of them are very, very good riders.
Yeah. Well, Winterberg's come into good form. A couple of days ago, we saw him beginning to ride well. He was quiet early on in the race, but he started to go some now. I suppose there's always a chance that somebody like him could have very good days and start to do something. There they are. Gosh.
It's splitting up all over the place. That's the group of Capucci, the second group there. But the Peloton must come back onto them, because if not, Indurain will be in big trouble.
I wonder what the blokes at the back are thinking right now when it goes like this. God. Well, they've had no rest since they came over the top of that hill where Ruth Cabestany was first, Chiappucci in second spot. That caused a split. These two riders have jumped across, and that wasn't the motorist just leaping onto the course. That's the one with the team director's car, the red ones. The riders spinning around that island. We had one or two crashes early on this tour, Stephen, with people bumping into street furniture, for want of a better word. It was rather difficult, because there's nothing to do in these circumstances, but keep your eyes open, is there?
Well, all of these races now, unfortunately, the traffic people, they were always looking for ways of means of slowing cars down, and they put up these islands, they put up these roundabouts, they put up these ramps on the road, and it's getting more and more difficult now for the cyclists. Like, you have to really keep your eyes open and not only watch the guy in front of you, but try and watch a couple of 100 yards ahead of you, because God knows what's coming up next.
Yeah, well, here we are then, these two riders, quite a useful lead at the moment. The Helvetia, the Swiss riders, drifting off the back, sitting on the wheel here, having got a little turn on the front, and they're certainly spinning the gears around now. Just look at that.
But they're possibly doing, I'd say, about 80 kilometers an hour at the moment on this fast descent.
And the rest of the pack hanging on for grim death. People at the back getting a bit of slipstream, but not much. They're all having to pedal to stay with her, aren't they? Look, the Benestos are a fair way back, some of them.
It's incredible, really, because I would have imagined with Capucci in the front that they would have been up in the first five. The first riders in the bunch would have been actually the Benestos. It's a very peculiar type to go together.
Yeah. Well, yesterday we saw Pedro Delgado acting as domestique to Indra, and I never thought I'd see that, really, but he was really having to work hard yesterday to try and pull back that brake that went away. Our motorcycle's moving up fairly quickly, and there is the yellow jersey. How many of his Benestos? He's got one there just with him at the moment. That was Fabrice Filippo, who went back yesterday from the leading group when he was a 10 strong. He went back to help the chase. The other rider we dropped off yesterday was one of the Shadow Dax riders who just unfortunately, I'm not quite sure he punctured, he blew anyway. Tibaldi got dropped off. That was that 10-man group. Fignon near the front again. I mean, he's been a revelation this tour, hasn't he? I mean, what do you think of that, how he's been riding?
Well, he hasn't really been a revelation because we've known Fignon for the last so many years, and especially when we're putting him down, he's always very quick to bounce back. And if anybody has been reading the French papers over the last couple of months, it was kind of obvious that he was going to bounce back for the Tour de France this year. But he has definitely had a very, very good Tour de France.
Yeah. So Benestos beginning to move up here to try and put some control on the front, and that's Monge Alonso moving through to mark the front of the pack. And there's still the two riders that we've got have gone off down the road. In fact, there's another Benestos there, so a little bit of a breathing space, I think. Well,
it's a very peculiar situation at the moment because in Duran, like, his big problem is he always rides very far back. And if you remember a few seconds ago we saw him, he was also very far back. He doesn't seem to know what's happening in the front. And I feel at the moment he doesn't know what's happening either, because with Capucci in the front, doesn't seem very worried.
Yeah, and Capucci, we know, will attack anything and everything that's going. Just put in the picture, if you haven't seen the profile today back at home, after we came over the top of that 5 kilometres out from the start, the Col Bayard, it's pretty well all downhill for a long way. And Abdul Japarov has shown himself at the front. Well, he's climbed up there without us noticing. And, of course, there's a sprint coming up after 14 kilometres at La Fer-en-Champsaur. So that's why Abdul Japarov has slipped off the front there, because of 6, 4 and 2 points. He's got so many at the moment, I don't think that anybody's going to challenge him. I think it's probably, as far as he's concerned, a few bob to go in the kitty, and B, I think he's doing it psychologically to show that he's still in with the shout when it comes to sprinting in. It is at the front of the race. Christophe Lavienne, just going through, remember him winning a stage in the Tour of Ireland. He went right out to the west coast when he sort of popped off towards the end of the stage. Very good all-rounder, nipping off the front now. These are the riders that started it all. Bourguignon just going through, and Winterberg in front of him. They're not working very well. There's a bit of a gap opening up here, Stephen.
It's a bit untidy, all right. Maybe they're afraid of what's coming.
Well, if they've got any idea, having seen the green jersey in books, then they know what's coming up now. It's going to be a sprint. It can't be far down the road. It's after 14 kilometres of racing today, and we're coming up. I think we should be there any time now. Or have we passed through it? 27. I want to be passed through that one, because they whipped along very quickly. We certainly have done more than 14 kilometres of racing, so we must have had that one, and I didn't spot it. My apologies. Because we've been going now for about half an hour, and they'd certainly do more than 14 kilometres in half an hour anyway.
The Benestos now have finally come to the front. I see 4 or 5 in there in the front now.
Yeah, that's a hell of a long lead they've got, that little group at the front. Still, and they're still in sight. So the main pack down that long straight road can spot them, and there they are. We've got off a helicopter. What would cycle racing do without helicopters, I ask myself. Is that nice? Look at Lavienne from the Castorama team, just looking back over his shoulders. Up in front, the Toshiba colours. The last time we're going to see those colours in the Tour de France, unless somebody changed their mind, which I doubt it, because Toshiba said they're going to stop in the end of this season. And of course, this team wanted to do well, because getting sponsors is not all that easy, you know, Stephen, because you've, you know, pounded the... I mean, you've got a new sponsor this year. Tonton Tapis have come in. New sponsors in cycling just don't pop out the woodwork, do they?
No, and they had a big blow this year as well because they took on Rominger, a Swiss rider last year for the 1991 season. He had a very good early season winning Paris-Nice. He won Tour de Romandie. He had a very, very good early season. And before the Tour de France started, he got tendonitis in his knee, ended up crying off. So when you're looking for a new sponsor and your top rider goes sick before coming to the big race that counts, where normally you should have had a good tour as well, it doesn't help the odds for finding a new sponsor.
And of course, Marshall Gayant crashed out of the race as well, so that took him out. That thinned the Toshiba team down. And I'll repeat what I said before in case you didn't hear as well. In the team time trial, they had a misfortune when ALPE-D punctured his back wheel. They couldn't get the mechanic's door open of the car, so they put the wheels to the window. He put it in the back of his bike. It wouldn't fit, it wouldn't work. So they got out the car, the other door, tried to get his spare bike. It was in the centre of the car. By the time they got it off, they'd lost so much time. He had to chase like hell. So bad luck for Toshiba's all round at the moment, but they're still trying to show the colours and to get themselves sponsored into next year. A lot of chopping and changing at the end of this season already. There's some story about Fignon leaving this Castorama team. You see the colours there of Lavienne going through. Abdul Japarov in the green. Well, he's really caught the eye of people this year, and he's another one, a bit like Kippucci, prepared to have a go. What's he like? Because you keep out of the way of the sprints, don't you? What's the stories the sprinters tell of him?
Well, he's very, very... He's a sprinter. Like, once he comes to the last 10 kilometres, like nobody touches him at all because he's so nervous. He pushes all over the place. You can see how stocky built he is. Like he's a fierce sprinter altogether. But you got to say to him, like, he's had a very good time trial last week also, whereas normally a normal sprinter, pure sprinter, would not do a good time trial.
Right. Yes, in fact, I checked his times and he went better towards the end. He began to catch riders and go through. He climbed up quite a bit towards the end, partly because of the way that Al Carl and Sean Kelly suffered with that bacterial problem and dropped down a bit. That helped him move up the position. I think he finished about 7th in the end when he was sort of outside the top 10 to begin with. It was a fine ride. And here he is without his crash out. In fact, there's, 3 without crash outs at the moment by the looks of it. That's been the talking point of the tour so far as well.
Well, it's been a talking point. It's been, in one way, it's normal the rider should have crash outs, but on the other hand, it's very difficult to have a crash out on your head when it's 35, 38, 40 degrees. Yep. Like it's maybe a little bit dangerous, okay, but is it maybe die of dehydration maybe in the end? But having the hat on, like it's terrible having a hat on your head.
Right. Well, the choice has been made by the riders, and I saw somewhere that it's like over 500,000
French
francs is what they've so far been
fined.
Yeah, tremendous.
But they say that will be possibly washed under the table, they say. But it's ridiculous having a fine like that anyway. They should be sitting down and talking about it instead of taking this kind of action.
Yeah, so with today's stage as well, it's going to be well in excess of 55,000 English pounds. Or Irish punts, as the case may be, Steve. Even more then, I should think, by that 60,000. Depends what the exchange rate is at the moment. 1 minute, yep.
Next year the Federation will be able to issue free crash outs for everybody next year.
Yes, I think I'd go out and buy a lot, couldn't they, with that sort of money? Yes. Force them to wear them, strap them on their heads, yes. But I think they'd object. And I can understand the feeling well. It's fascinating. When I first went on the Tour de France, I remember in those days in Belgium, the riders had to race with crash outs on, but they didn't in France. I was with the TI Rally team, and we were following them into Belgium, and all the domestics came back to the cars, collected the crash outs, went forward, put them on. They all put on the helmets. They went through Belgium. They went out the other side because we were back in France then. All domestics collected the crash outs and brought them back and gave them to the team cars. I thought, well, if these professionals don't want to wear them, there's obviously some reason why they choose not to do so. And that's, I'm talking a long, long time ago now. There we are. Bonesto's getting on the front to wind it up a bit. Nobody of any great consequence up there, but I presume what they're trying to do is to keep Oitel Buckler in there as well. Neidham having a little go. Not his day out today, I'd have thought.
Should be keeping for the end, I think, because I remember, like, in 85, I think it was, no, it wasn't 85, 86 or thereabouts, I finished up Alpe-D HUEZ, and I lost 22 minutes on Alpe-D HUEZ.
You were no mean climber, good lord.
So,
it's that tough, is it? Yes.
Very, very tough.
Yeah. What's it like there with the people? We'll talk about it later on when we get up there, but what's it like with that massive crowd as well?
It's incredible. I think if the people weren't there, I think I wouldn't have lost 22 minutes. I might have lost about 2 days because you're afraid to zigzag and everything else because of all the people that are there, and they encourage you on something terrible.
Right.
So it's a great feeling going through it. You just don't feel the gradient at all.
Well, there you are. If a man who's won the Tour de France and the Tour of Italy and the World Championship can say, and of course done well in the Paris-Nice, can say that he lost 22 minutes on the this big Alpe d'Huez climb, which we'll hit at the end. Just give you some idea then, I'll put you in the picture while this little group's working away, of the gaps on general classification, if you haven't read it this morning in your newspapers. Indurain is in the lead in the yellow jersey. We've seen him back in the pack. He's 3 minutes ahead of Charlie Motte, who's in tremendous form. Charlie won the new Classic Days Alps, and of course he's won a stage in this tour as well. So Charlie's only 3 minutes behind Indurain. Bunyo is 3 minutes and 10 seconds behind Indurain. Chiappucci, Chicken Little Devil, is 4 minutes and 6 seconds back behind Indurain. Greg LeMond in 5th place, now 4 minutes 42 seconds. He managed to get another 26 seconds back yesterday. Laurent Fignon is 6th at 5:52. LeBlanc, the previous wearer of the yellow jersey, at 6:52. That's Fignon's 5:52, LeBlanc's 6:52. Let's get that right. Minutes apart. Andy Hampson at 7:25. Chozas is 13:4, and Fondries, complete the top 10, is 14 minutes and 25 seconds back. So that is the general classification at the moment.
Eurosport. The Tour de France.
This group then still around about 1 minute ahead of the main pack, and the main pack I think more concerned with just leaving them out there to Freiburg at the moment. Abdul-Japarov sitting comfortably in this group, hasn't been doing too much work in this brittle breakaway pack at the moment. We've got Winterberg going to the front, Abdul-Japarov next to go through, Riz Kabastani, who took the mountain climb and started all next to go through, and then behind him was Lavienne and also in there Bourguignon. So the Benestos rolling reasonably comfortably on the front, just keeping quite a pleasant pace, I would think, at the moment. So that break, Steve, what do you think? Have a chance of going away? They don't seem to be too bothered about it at the moment.
Well, I think there's nobody in there really dangerous on the general. So I think what they're feeling at the moment now is keep a good little tempo going to stop any other guys going away and possibly eventually taking away some strong guy with them. So at the moment they're keeping the pace up, not so fast to take them back, but fast enough to keep stop anybody else trying to attack and trying to go after them.
And of course, Klaas began to put a man up near the front just to keep an eye on things, because they got Pellerose Kabastani going away. I suppose if they manage to get some distance away, and that fellow's quite capable of climbing up the Alpe d'Huez, isn't he?
Oh, definitely, yes. Bourguignon, they're from Toshiba, he's a very, very good climber also. He hasn't had a great tour so far, but he has been going very well in the mountains. We just see Indurain, you can see the yellow jersey there just going through. He's very near the back again.
Yeah.
He never learned, I think.
Well, someone has to go along and have a chat to him, although he seems to have got some of the Amaya team round about it. It was quite noticeable yesterday, by the way, that when that group went off, that a lot of the chasing was done by Spaniards, and so it seemed that the Benestos were able to recruit help from other teams.
Well, the Spanish riders are terrible. It's a very, very good feeling between them. When I remember in '87 when Delgado was leading the Tour de France and I was second for the last few days, the combination between the Spanish riders, like without them actually combining between them, just automatically there was help coming from everywhere.
Right, so there's tactics going on from the nationalities, apart from their need to look after the sponsors they've got. They certainly want nationalistic pride too, and I think Italy must be very pleased at the moment with the number of stage successes they've had, although of course disappointment now. They've got the black armbands on, I suppose, in sadness, because with Lieti being out. We understand that actually he was training before the race started. We're getting all sort of different stories coming in, and he swerved to miss the child crossing the road, and he seems to have hit a vehicle, and not only seems to have cracked his leg, but he's done his collarbone in as well. So it was a bang crash and out he went. Great disappointment, I think, today. So it's femur that's gone, and something to do with his collarbone. So Lieti off to hospital and out of the race at the moment. And this useful little group increasing its lead now, you saw on the blackboard, to 1 minute and 30 seconds. They're not pushing it too hard though? They're rolling
No,
along?
they're rolling along. Don't think it's actually going up. It's still like a false flat on descent. Like it's not actually going up, but it's not actually going down either.
So the riders here, and Benestos just keeping the pace up, and Klaas trying to get in the way slightly. Bunyo. Well, a lot of people are tipping that chap to probably win the Tour de France at the moment, and every day we've seen him always near the front. He seems to be able to read the race quite well indeed.
He does, but he's He hasn't really given the form that everyone thought he was going to have this year, because after coming out the Giro, he said that now I'm finally ready for the Tour de France. He won the national championships a week later, and practically hasn't showed at all in the Tour de France this year, apart from the Pyrenees. He took off towards the end in that stage, mountain stage, but he hasn't really shown to what people expected him to show.
Well, let's see if he can pull something out the bag today. He's just been attacking. He got rather interested in stage successes rather than anything else, but let's see how far he is down back on general classification. He's third at 3:10, so something might still happen today. You never know. Hello, he's cut his hat, cotton cap, so that the cooling air goes through. That's an unusual thing. I've never seen that before.
Definitely is. Yeah, that just shows how hot it is. We've often done that before, but only when it's been very, very hot.
Yeah. So one way of getting the air through and keeping his crash head on as well. Sorry about the picture breakup. There are problems sometimes when you get up in the mountains. They're 136, so it's inching away, or I should say centimetre away. As the pack now begin to look like they're accelerating slightly. That little arrowhead now wedged in an echelon. Venestos have probably just put the speed up slightly. Well, we're going now towards the Côte de Moti, or Motte. And this is the pack up in front. So when they get to the bottom of this little climb, after some 30 kilometres being covered, it's only a short, sharp one, about a couple of kilometres to go up this third category climb. That shouldn't disturb this pack too much. Nice smooth roads, and I think the organisation have taken a certain amount of sympathy for the riders today by not putting them over the big mountains like the Croix de Fer, which we've been over before on the tour. So this doesn't look too tough today then, Steve, does it?
It's not actually, for a mountain stage, it's not actually very tough at all. It's not very tough either in distance. It's only 125 kilometres. It's not very tough at all. But it's never the distance or the mountains that make the race hard.
No.
If the riders are riding long at 10 kilometres an hour, then it's never hard,
right,
even on a flat stage. But if the riders ride like hell on a flat stage, it can be very, very hard.
Yeah.
Look at the last couple of days in the flat. There's been bodies everywhere.
Everywhere, and a lot of damage done. And in fact, funny enough, on that Val d'Aran stage, it wasn't so much the old category climbs that did it. It was it was a sort of second category climb between the two that blew them all apart, because they raced up it like there's no tomorrow, and that did all the damage. So there they are, and as yet, none of the main contenders for the crown seem to want to race themselves into the ground. I don't blame them either, because it's reasonably hot out there. Perhaps not quite as hot today as it has been, but the speed is definitely up now.
You can judge that by the peloton is all spread out, kind of not too much in one line, but it's all in. It's more longer than it is normally.
Yeah. And who's doing the work? Still, the Benestos on the front, and this little group. They all seem to be combining, and they've just got the rhythm about right. They're not busting their guts. They've obviously got good information about the fact that they're able to drift away without putting too much into it. So that's going to help. Up comes Team Car with information.
Also, I think the reason they're combining together is the fact that each of them, apart from the Russian, from Carrera, the green jersey, they all know that they can win this stage, because Bourguignon's a good climber, Gavestani's a good climber, Laven's a reasonably good climber, and also Winterberger's a good climber. So they all know that they're all on equal terms. There's no real super climber amongst them.
So
I say the guy in the green jersey because I can never pronounce his name properly. Abardjouov or something.
Jamalin Abdjaparov, yes.
It's a Russian name, but I can never get it out.
Well, Alan Piper, who was with me a couple of days ago, he evidently interviewed him at some point. There's the yellow jersey down the pack. He interviewed at some point, and they thought, well, he's got to have a second name which is simpler than Jamalin, you see. And this fellow gave it to me. I had to spell it, and it's worse than Jamalin and worse than Abdjaparov. He put the one in the middle. It goes about all the way across the page. You type it out. So he said, forget it.
Actually, what we call him in the peloton is Abdu.
Abdu, I should think. Yes, I should think so too. So the revelation then in the peloton, I mean, in the time you've been riding, Steve, we've seen all these East Europeans come. That's been quite a sort of, I would say, shock the system, but it must have made a difference.
Definitely has. But you've had so many guys that were super amateurs coming across into professional ranks, like they came off and that, and they haven't really done what everyone had expected of them. But this guy, Abdu, we can obviously call him, definitely is. Like with Konichev, they have had a great season this year.
And so Abdu Jafarov, the Soviet Union's rider, the first one to win a stage in the Tour de France and take the green jersey. And of course, last year when Olaf Ludwig came across and took the green jersey as well, that shocked a few people, but he did that in fine style as well. We've seen some sprinting from Stumpf as well. He's a German rider who's been going extremely well. So all nationalities at the moment. We've had a win already in the Tour from the Brazilian rider, the first time ever. And the papers are reporting that in fact he's become a national hero back in Brazil. I suppose that's the only thing they can do now. The football team's taking a bit of a pasting. So here they are, all stringing out.
The roads today are all reasonably good and reasonably wide as well, so it helps for a breakaway like this going away. It also helps then for the team chasing behind. They haven't got to keep going and going and going. They can just keep a good tempo on their front and keep the time down. And also a good day not to get punctures on these conditions, because when it's dry and it's smooth roads, they're best conditions for the mechanics who've been fettling the bicycles. Of course, some of these riders riding on tubular tyres, some of them riding on the new clincher type tyres, rather like the ones you have on your own sports bike. And here they are then. The pack still fairly well all together. Little chasing group is probably drifting off. We'll have to take a time check shortly to see how far they are on the front.
Eurosport. The Tour de France. This program is brought to you by Eurosport in association with Isostar, the fast-acting isotonic thirst quencher.
The leading group are on the Côte de Moti. That will give us some chance, I think, to do a little time check. And you can see how already Christophe Lavienne has unzipped his front of his jersey to get some cooling air down there, because although the sun has gone in, it's still extremely hot, and of course the earth has soaked up the sun. And they've got a lovely view back down the valley to see where the main pack is. Is that going to frighten them, you think, looking back for that? You can see it there.
Well, everybody's wondering, like, how come we're still away, I'm sure. Just waiting for the bunch to come along, and they're saying, well, we have a long way to go. Got to keep someone in the legs for the final up out the ways, so they're a bit on two minds whether to keep going or to stop. You can see Laven, he has his jersey open here. Remember last year there was a bit of trouble over that, because there was the race organisers, the race directors thought it wasn't very colourful for cyclists. So they actually fined some riders.
Oh, did they? Yeah, and I suppose that also your sponsor's message disappears then, doesn't it? It's a hairy chest. Well, Bourguignon, you're right about his climbing ability. He's gone. And he's quite a tall chap there to be a climber, isn't he? He's
very tall, but he possibly gone. A few minutes ago we saw his Stretch Sportif coming up and having a chat with him. He might have been saying to him, for example, that the bunch are coming up, you have a better chance on your own. So this is possibly why he had to go.
And of course there's little bits of money to be retained every time they collect points and things towards the various awards. We've got the King of the Mountains, we've got the sprint points as well, we've got team championships, we've got a whole load of things for these riders to go for. In fact, the prize value in the Tour de France this year just on £1 million in all, and at the end of the stage today the first prize will be £50,000, but I think it's the honour of winning the Alpe-D HUEZ stage, which is probably going to encourage them to go more. Hello, he's easing back. That's surprising. 1 kilometre. Can you lift
no,
it, Stephen?
I think my judge of tactics are wrong. I think he's telling them now, what are you going up there for? So far to the finish. You need those guys behind. So I think my judge of tactics was wrong. But also I think his judge is not doing the right thing at the moment. He should have let him go on, because he's a very, very good rider.
Yeah. I suppose you have to do. I mean, does a rider always have to do exactly what the director sportif says? I mean, sometimes I presume it depends which rider you are.
That's the way it is. Like if you're a named rider and you don't do what you're told, well, no one's going to say anything to you at night time. But if you're a normal domestic and you don't do what you're told, and things don't work out according to your plan, then that night you got some answers to give.
Now look how tall he is. He's got that handlebar stem up out of the frame of the bike, and he's another one that, in fact, rather than having an extension above the lock nut, if we drop down and see it now, he's actually got the frame built. So here we are. The frame's built upwards so that his handlebar stem is neatly sticking, and a low top tube. That's an unusual design. It's a bit like the one that Edwin van Hooydonk rides. You see how Abdul Jabbar with a very small head on his bicycle, and his stem is sticking up quite a bit, but he hasn't got that strength on it because he's an entirely different size of rider. But he's a very chunky, short, sharp little chap, isn't he?
That's the difference between himself and Bourguignon. Bourguignon is 6 foot something, 6'6" maybe, where Abdul is maybe 5'6" maybe. Whereas Abdul, his bike will be a very small, rigid bike. Whereas if if Bourguignon was to have his bike in relation to his height, his bike could be flipping all over the place. So what they do now is to make the triangle smaller and give you more seat tube and more head tube, so that you can actually sit your stem into it and your seat tube.
Well, at 6'4" myself, I know the problem well. I can tell you, with all my lengths, it's in my legs, and so I used to have a long seat pin sticking out. So I know the feeling of trying to get a bike to match and to size. 25-inch, I think I've been riding for years now, and there's a lot of seat pins sticking out, but I've never tried a small frame. I've got one just being built now. We'll see how it goes. There we are, and he looks very confident though, doesn't he, Bourguignon?
Definitely, like I said, like he's for a very tall guy. He has done very good things in the likes of Dauphiné when he was riding for Jalabert and Rumminger. He impressed a lot of people in the mountains. He hasn't actually shown here, but maybe today could be his day.
And the gap then is 1 minute and 50 seconds coming in on the time check. Lavian at the back, sitting quite low and twiddling a somewhat lower gear. Actually, Bourguignon arrives with very straight leg position. Well, that's strange because we're getting up toward the top and he's been reeled back in and he hasn't even gone for this one. That's well, his team manager obviously told him something. He didn't even go for a sprint for it. Amazing.
Well, I suppose he's possibly maybe 61st or 62nd or whatever it is in the mountains classification. So gaining 5 or 6 points today is not going to do, like, it's only a third category climb, so he might gain 8 points or 10 points and maybe forward isn't going to help him. So he's better off kind of hiding himself and bluffing a little bit and hoping that they will retrieve the fourth and can arrive in the front for Alpe d'Huez and maybe try and get away in Alpe d'Huez maybe.
Well, the Benesto team still at the front. Class have gone up because Riz Kabastani is up there, and so they won't aid the chase at all. And in fact, he's still beginning to move forward. They're not too well off for climbers, are they? In your old team?
No, definitely not. This year they're a good classic team, okay, but for the tours this year they haven't been showing at all. And
they've lost Benjamin van Etterbeek, the champion of Belgium. He's out the tour already, and they've also lost Soren Lilhout, who was always one for activate any race, but he's gone as well, so they've lost a couple of men. And of course they have won a stage so far in this race when De Wilde got one. That gap is 1 minute and 9 seconds now, so it's coming down. They must be applying a bit of pressure. Well, I must have pressed the button wrong because we've got 2 minutes coming in on one side and I've got 1 minute and 9 seconds, so perhaps I pressed the button wrong. Oh, 108, I'm right, there we are. Gosh, we're getting conflicting information. One was 109 and that's it. So that was at the top of the climb. Beautiful, there's the old lake down below. And nice part of the world if you're on holiday, and these lads are certainly not on holiday at the moment. They're beginning to accelerate, the gap's come down, it was up to 136, it's now 109. So the reaction there, snaking round, beautiful. Well, look at that, absolutely magnificent. Different view for you, Stephen, to watch it now?
It certainly is. I would have preferred to be actually on the other side of the microphone for this race actually, because it's the biggest race in cycling history, and you know it's completely different looking at it from this angle, but I would have fared much better on the bike. Even if it was hurting myself, I'd prefer to be on the bike.
Well, we wish you'd been there too, and it was great misfortune if you haven't caught up with when Steve missed the team time trial, had to ride on his own when the conflicting times, I think, were given on what time he did to start, wasn't it, Stephen?
Yeah, there was a big mix-up altogether, yeah.
Yeah, great shame that was.
Won't go back on her anyway.
No.
It's too painful.
Yes, I know. And mind you, there again, your shoulder's been giving you trouble this year too, hasn't it?
Well, I've been treating tendonitis in it for the last month and a half, so I just kind of said to myself, well, I was eliminated out of the Tour de France, but maybe at the end of the day was maybe lucky because it's given me 10 days off the bike to look after myself. But now I feel fully fit again, and I'm working very hard now and hoping to have a good end of season. Well,
I have to tell you, he won the Criterium International in March this year, showing good form coming up with Stephen, and we hope then that damage to your shoulder tendonitis has now gone away and back in action for the rest of the season. I suppose, of course, the World Championship must loom very much on your thoughts then, Stephen.
It's exactly. I'm hoping now to ride all the end of season classics now coming up to the World Championships and hopefully make a good World Championships in Stuttgart now in the end of August. Have you seen the Stuttgart course at all? Do you know much about it? No, but from listening to everybody going around, it's going to be very, very hard. Is it? But knowing about it won't change anything. As you said, they're always hard. Even when they're on the flat, they're hard, aren't they? So the... he's gone up to the front. Someone else had a quiet word in his ear. He must have heard what you were saying. So Undulating up the front of this little pack and chasing down that little breakaway group, still over a minute clear.
To look back there, see who's round about him. Well, the class team's still there because they've got Ruiz Cabestany away.
This guy, Dominic Arno, you can see him here, Benesta rider, the front guy. He actually has been in, I don't know, about 4 or 5 Tour de France winning teams. He was there when Delgado won it, and he was also a team rider to Bernard Hinault in the end of his reign.
So he's got a lot of experience. There's one thing, the Benestas have got a very strong all-round team, haven't they? So they should be able to get Indurain through towards the finishing fine start. I don't think he liked that corner that time. Got a bit wrong. Somebody's drifted off. But it was Cabestany, wasn't he? I mean, making a bit of a hash of that corner. And the car's zooming through. Yes, there he is. I think he got his line all wrong. Well, great all-rounder stuck in there. Christophe Levan, good cyclo-cross rider as well. He doesn't seem to be hurting too much. I haven't seen him doing much work on the front, so possibly he's also under instructions. Beautiful view then of the riders here. We dropped down off the top of the Côte de Moti, and as the field have now covered some 38 kilometres, we're in Corp, and just running more or less on time. We've got a schedule here for 34 kilometres per hour, and they're due through here at 14:39, so we seem to be moving on par with the 34 kilometres per hour average speed. The race has just dropped below the 40 kilometres per hour as an overall average. Up till a couple of days ago, they were close on 40 kilometres per hour. Yesterday, rather a slowish day, not surprising. They went like the clappers towards the end, but at one time they were only averaging some 31 kilometres per hour. But today, they feel steady 34.
Looking at the monitor there, we get the impression we're going downhill all the time. But I'm sure those guys are taking something else.
Well, it goes down and goes up and goes down and goes up, and we are going to find ourselves, by the time we get down to Valbonnet, that we've really dropped down the bottom. 126 has gone back up again, and we won't really, I suspect, until we get to 86 kilometres being covered, when we start the climb up the second category climb of the Col d'Onon, that will be where it'll all start to come apart the seams, because then it does start to go up, short drop down the other side and back up again. So this earlier part is what I might call undulating.
But normally for that second category climb called the Orion at 96 kilometres, normally all the top heads, they'll be all getting to the front end, because then you got a descent which goes down to Bourdoisan, which is only like 8 or 9 kilometres down, and you start at the foot then of Alpe d'Huez. So the big guns, they'll be all getting to the front around the top of this called the Orion. So
the pack then, now they're losing a bit of ground on that leading group, because you can see that the way the arrowhead is wedged across gutter to gutter, and Benesto's still doing the chasing. Looks like Bunyo's sliding up towards the front, and one of the motor oil. What is that Hampson getting himself up near the front? Long string back. And I suppose at the back there we've got people like Ludwig and Stump and all the other big heavy men who are just coasting on the wheels. And today should be able to keep inside the time limit. I think if they keep this lot going, the big heavy men are probably thankful for today, but they're going to have to struggle tomorrow. Let's go back up again, and one's gone. It's Bourguignon. He's been told not to go. In fact, there are 2 riders away, and I think that Bourguignon has been told just to watch the moves as it goes, and I think it's Ruiz Cabestany that's drifted off the front, and Bourguignon has gone with him for company. And there they are. Well, Ruiz Cabestany started it, so perhaps this is his day.
Well, he has to show, like he hasn't showed at all since the start of the Tour de France. So, and like I say, he's a rider of a lot of class. So he saw the occasion there to take it. So he's gone, but it's a bit really like he's taking a big gamble, because still a long, long way to go. And
both of them have opened up a considerable gap. I think we can say goodbye to those other 3 behind them. They've done that very quickly indeed on this this drifting upwards. It's really very, very steady climb up towards the Côte des Agates, and they've still got some way to go to get there. And when they get there, that's going to be just a 4th category climb. But nevertheless, it's the undulating road here, the up and down, is certainly beginning to cause some problems to the people behind. They've just drifted away, haven't they? And they're riding quite strong. Bourguignon looks to me to be the stronger of the 2. What do you think?
Well, I think Bourguignon has been itching to go away, because he went away earlier on over the last climb. So I think he was only kind of too delighted when he saw Cabestany going away. So I think today could be his day. But Cabestany looks very, very fresh also. So. But we're a long, long way to go yet. Like the bunch hasn't even woken up yet. And
so the two riders here in the front. We understand one of the riders, Nehemiah Quevedo, has just retired, decided to climb off, so we're still thinning the field down, so that's taken us down to 168 riders, sorry, 167 riders, because we've lost Lietti this morning with that crash before the race started. Quevedo has also said goodbye to the race now, and that's him out of action. He's always been exciting the race, actually, in the early part of the Tour de France, Quevedo, but we're not going to see his purple and Maya colours up in the front, purple and pink, having a go for whoops. It doesn't strike me that oops, let's watch this lot go. Winterberg let him go. He's got to try and close down, and surely they've got to work together rather than jump all over the place like this.
Yeah, it's strange tactics, all right. It's like they waited until Gabastani and Bourguignon got to 35 seconds, then somebody starts attacking. So it's peculiar tactics, all right, especially when they're only like a minute and a half ahead of the bunch. If they're 10 minutes up, you'd say, well, okay, they start everyone having a go, but they're only a minute and a half ahead of the bunch, so it's peculiar tactics, all right.
Yeah, so.
But I suppose the heat can be doing that as well.
Well, there's no account of what gets up to in bike racing. Every man for himself at the moment. Winterberg at the back of this little group here. Lavienne in front of him. So there they go.
But the descents are very, very rapid, as you can see. They're very wide roads, of course, but you can see from the line that the lads are taking, like it's very, very rapid descents.
And I thought rather that Cavastani was drifting badly on the corner. I think of these two, certainly the stylish Bourguignon seems to be the strong one on the climbs and also bike-handing down hills. But the two working at it quite nicely now. We've covered something around about, 40-odd kilometres of the race, so we're a good third of the way through. Still these two riders in the lead. That's Peloton, Cavastani moving forward, Bourguignon behind, and this is the three men they just left.
Eurosport. The Tour de France. This program is brought to you by Eurosport.
The two leaders still pedalling quite smoothly at the front. The three men behind have decided to reorganise their chase, and the main pack just at the moment keeping them at a reasonable distance, as they're something over 1/3 of the way through the race at the moment. And the man who started all, Peloton Cavastani, if he just joined us, he went up after 5 kilometres to the Col Bayard, and off he went to take the first of the Primes of the day, caused a reaction. The bunch split somewhat, and this little group of what was originally 5 men, including Abdul Jafarov, has gone away at the front, and these are the two leaders, with Bourguignon behind in the Toshiba colours, following on behind the class rider Ruth Cavastani. And he moves his way through. He certainly looks quite strong, and still with the undulation. So the group is at 2 minutes now, according to the time checks coming off the radio. We got all sorts of facilities here to keep us in touch with the activity further back down the pack. And there they are, moving at a fair rate of knots, and a bit of a straggly string behind of the pack. And some of the riders are probably finding it a bit tiring, even at this rate of knots. So let's look down there, see what we got. Yes, the yellow jersey, fifth from the front. Anybody else round about him? Haven't seen much of Mr. Le Mans so far today. I think he's lying doggo in the pack after yesterday's exploits. And the Benestos moving very well at the front of this pack. They've been around a long time in sponsorship, haven't they, Benestos, as a team, Stephen?
Benestos are in now for the last 4 years, I think. So in case, for your own information, it's it's one of the biggest banks in Spain at the moment. At the moment, Indurain is actually having problems because Banesto is a bank and Credit Lyonnais is also a bank.
Yeah.
And now he's riding for Banesto, which is a bank in Spain, and he's riding for Credit Lyonnais, which is a bank in France.
See the complications.
So the sponsors are not too happy at the moment.
I did read somewhere that Banestos weren't too keen if any of their chaps won the Spanish Championship, are they? Because they'd rather having the Banesto jersey than the national jersey.
But that actually is a problem with some of the teams in Holland, even, I believe, even with PDM, they were told that finish second or third in the Championship if you want, but don't win it. Because of the fact that you have less publicity on a national jersey than you have on the actual team jersey.
Yeah.
So it does go against you, really.
Yes, I suppose it's less publicity if the colours known, but on some jerseys, if you've got good lettering on either national jersey, it will stand out quite well. But it depends on the design of the national jersey, doesn't it, to an extent?
It does, but on a team jersey you can have badges nearly everywhere.
Yeah.
But on a national jersey, you're limited to the actual publicity you can have on it. So it's a big shake up for the sponsor when he's paid you for putting his badges all over the place.
And you go and win something of importance too. Oh, he's getting another lecture coming up. Look at this. my goodness. It looks like he's telling him off.
It does, all right. It's a bit peculiar.
Well, the team's folding at the end of the year, so probably at the moment, but Thierry Bourguignon is saying to Bernard Vallée, I think I'll make my own decisions here. Hello, Abdul Jafarov wants his team car to come up. I mean, has he got some, doesn't look like it, no, he's just having a little chat, I think. I think there's much more sympathy between these two, because Abdul Jafarov from Tashkent, and well, he wants a bottle. Oh, now they're not allowed to feed on a certain area out the cars, are they?
No, normally actually the feeding zone starts after 50 kilometres.
Right.
So he cannot take a bottle from the car, otherwise he'll be fined himself, and also the team director will be fined.
Yeah.
So that's why the team director wouldn't give him a bottle.
So the condition's still hot, and it looked like he must have started out with either without one, or he's drunk it all and chucked it away now. We've been in action for just over, so we started at 1:30, about 20 to 2 we started, and it's been an hour and 5 minutes of racing so far, and still the riders drinking water, because they're not replacing the body fluid now. I mean, how much do you know how much you drink in a day when it's hot like this, Stephen? Because we've heard also reports how many litres you might get through on a day, well, like day like yesterday, say, rather than today when it was 40 degrees.
You might go through 10 litres in a 200 kilometre stage. 8 to 10 litres.
Wow.
But you've got to think as well, like they aren't just going to get you on the bike this morning and riding the stage. They've been riding for the last 2 weeks in this very, very hot weather. So they've been eliminating all the body fluids every day. So it means that they've little or no reserves of body fluids. So they just keep drinking and drinking.
God. And in it goes, and out it comes perspiring like crazy. No wonder the riders are drinking a lot on their way through. And of course, I suppose half the problem then is the team car. I know I've been in the tour and they've had all these bottles everywhere, and these things with the cooling boxes as well, in which they put the bottles. They take up so much space, don't they?
They do, of course, but once you take a bottle onto your bike, I very rarely take 2 bottles on the bike, because when after like 10 kilometres or 20 kilometres, the bottle's already warm. So there's nothing worse than having warm water in the bottle. It just kind of like paste in your mouth.
You could take a tea bag, couldn't you? Make yourself some tea.
Practically, yes.
And this little group here with the career rider on the back. I know with the career riders, they have on their green shorts, they have pockets and the actual shorts. I've not noticed that before, but they seem that many of them have got the shorts with pockets in them rather than in the jerseys.
Well, actually, in the start of the season, when we started seeing them first, we all thought they were jeans with legs cut off them, because they do actually. There's a resemblance, incredible resemblance between the two of them. But now we've all gotten used to them, of course, so it looks
they're actually
normal.
pockets. They're not sort of stitched on there to make them look like the career
no,
jeans.
No, they are actually pockets.
Yeah. They didn't have them when you were riding for career, did they?
No, it's only this year.
Ah.
Normally if the law is the law, black shorts are only allowed. Then they brought in black shorts with a white band. Then they brought in red shorts and blue shorts, and the same as the white stockings. Normally white stockings are only allowed. Well, now you have white stockings with blue stockings, pink stockings.
Yeah.
Normally it's, but nobody challenges it, because it's an accepted factor now that we can bend the rules a little bit.
So they must have found some reason to put pockets in the back. They didn't only just to publicise the jeans that the Carrera manufacture. So that, I thought to begin with it was just one rider, but I noticed that Kierpucci's got it and Abdul Jafarov has got them, so it must be a general, you say, for everybody now.
That's it, the team rig out now is these Carrera jean type shorts.
Yep. And of course, some of this design, the Castorama, making it look like the overalls of a plumber or a workman.
Well, actually, this is because the Castorama is actually a big shop here where they sell everything from a nail to a toothbrush.
Yeah.
And it's everything for the do-it-yourself DIY. So the DIY emblem was actually to have this kind of an overalls unit, and they designed this jersey last year when Castorama came into the circuit, and they stuck with it.
And your Tanton Tappies, you've got a bloke with because Tappies it's a carpet, isn't it? He's got a roll of carpet over his shoulder.
Exactly, but actually the guy with the carpet on his shoulder is actually the boss.
Oh well.
This is all his own promotion himself.
Yeah.
So, but of course sometimes it can be a bit kind of.
It's a different jersey, I can tell you. I certainly looked at it. I thought, well, it looked, not like normally you get, because you get some decorations sometimes. But let's see this chap now. It's solved the problem. Thank you.
Well, at the start of the year, actually racing down Italy, we were a bit worried about it, because the Italians down around Palermo, down on the south of Italy, they were saying, well, why are you doing publicity for Saddam Hussein?
Oh,
so
selling carpets.
got frightening, because his face actually with the moustache looked very like him. So
oh gosh,
it was
yeah, a bit difficult. Anyway.
It was indeed.
So at least it's different, and I suppose that's the whole thing that many of these people want to do with their jerseys, make them look different. And thank goodness too, from the commentator's point of view, you can pick out some of these jerseys. So there we are, nice streamlined action. Yeah, woof.
It's going down very fast again.
Yeah.
You can see them doing there possibly around 75, 80 kilometers an hour.
That also showed
fast.
Yeah, how he closed up in the slipstream too, didn't he? He had to go down to brakes. Yeah.
That's how important you can see. If you can only see it from a picture like this. You can see how important actually the slipstream is.
Well, these are the two leaders, and between these two and Abdul Jafarov, the little group we just looked at, who descend the hill, the gap is 1 minute and 20 seconds, and the main pack is now back at 2 minutes and 50 seconds. So they're drifting away all the time. Softly, softly, catchy monkey, I think. So today, at the moment, they're just easing away, and that is probably the best way of doing it. They're not busting a gut, these two, just riding very steadily and opening up that useful gap. Looks as if he's cut the sleeves off his jersey as well, where normally the stitching bit is to keep it tight. To probably.
Well, that's also to help the air circulation. Some of the lads do that as well, because even if it's not tight on your arm, the air doesn't get through. Where if you open up the neck of your shirt and open up the sleeves,
yeah,
the air goes right through. It keeps it cools it down a little bit. Like in this heat and in these conditions, like every little bit helps. And everyone's trying to find a different way or a new way of getting more air in.
And the condition a bit overcast today. I think you're probably thankful we haven't got the burning sunshine of yesterday. So Winterberg with his, I think he's getting rid of his water bottles at the moment. Christophe Lavienne in there. Chancy rider, I think, hoping for something to happen. And the field behind them is this gap we last had then of 2 minutes and 50 seconds between the peloton and the leaders, Ruth Cavastani and Thierry Buggenon. Still seem to be going at about the same rate of knots, and they're getting on towards the halfway point in this race. The riders now will have just about covered some 50 kilometres, I would think, coming towards the 50 kilometre point, and La Salle-en-Beaumont would be about the next town for them to go through. And they feel still content to let the Benestos do the chasing down at the front, and they're averaging 36 kilometres per hour exactly at the moment.
Eurosport, the Tour de France. This program.
These then are the two riders drifting away to the front of the pack, and having a quick look at the route card to see how far he's gone. He's got a little calculator on his handlebars, so that'll show the distance covered. And then he's got out a little bit of paper which has got the route of the day. Is that going to be any help to him or hindrance?
Well, sometimes you feel you've done so much and you have so far to go, and other times you can look at this bit of paper, you can be very disappointed because you can feel it's only 50 kilometres and you may have only done about 40 maybe, but it's a very, very good indication when you know roughly where you're going. You can look at this bit of paper, you can look at your speedometer or your computer, and you actually know where you're going. You can calculate much better. You know, well, I must eat something now because in another 5 kilometres there's a hill going, there's a hill starting. It's a very, very useful object now on a cyclist bike.
And the gap is in fact growing. The flash up on the screen there, 2:25 between the two leaders and the three chasers, and 3:25 back to the peloton. So Pelo Ruth Cavastani, 29-year-old rider from San Sebastian, has just been having a look at the route ahead of them, and the pack then here not too concerned at the moment. We're getting though towards the halfway point, and those two useful climbers are really working well. They suddenly seem to have got stuck in now, don't they?
Definitely are. They're riding very, very well together. But they're hoping that they will be forgotten about behind. Like if they get a minute ahead, then the groups feel very near them and they take them back very easy. But if they get 3 or 4 minutes, the group will relax then, and they've got they're no threat on general classification. So the Benestos, I'd say, will let them go now, and they keep their own tempo, because if they're riding into a good tempo, it means they're using up a lot of energy. When they hit the foot of ALPE-D HUEZ, they're all going to just blow. Or if they can ride a little bit slower, they can keep a lot of this energy and hopefully help Indurain as much as they can up the first slopes of ALPE-D HUEZ.
So it's working in their favour now, Benestos, rather than getting somebody else like we had Chiappucci trying to go away.
Well, they know also that if they have a minute ahead, it'll excite somebody else to go after them. But now the other riders now know that these guys in front, they have 2 or 3 minutes. They know that they won't get across them on their own, and they know that a stage victory is gone because they already have some guys in front. So it works to the team advantage because they can lower the speed now just to kind of keep the tempo, keep the control of the pack.
So it's playing in the favour of these two riders, and certainly both of them very capable performers, and perhaps we could have yet another different name up on the stage success. We didn't expect actually that the Ariel Steers would be able to get a stage success today, but of course the time they're getting at the moment is 3.5 minutes. It's still nothing when you get to the Alpe d'Huez, because you can probably sort of almost count the riders up with a calendar rather than a stopwatch because of the gap that's going to open up. But they are in a fine position, and both useful climbers. If they can get a good lead, then perhaps that will mean that they might well run out winners of this stage. But we've seen so often in the Tour de France that we begin to speculate something and the bunch winds itself up and whoop, off they go, and suddenly they start to pull back. Two chaps on the front that have thought they got it all stitched up and home and dry. He's sending very quickly here, and I think certainly Rose Cavastani is probably the less competent of these two descenders, isn't he?
Yes, it's peculiar really, because normally he's a very, very good descender, very, very agile. So it's difficult to understand. Maybe he has a problem with his bike, maybe, or sometimes we use normally we use a steel bike during the day, and for mountain stages sometimes we take on a carbon bike, and an all carbon tube bike frame. When you start using it first on descent, it's very difficult to use it. So maybe this is possibly a reason why he's having difficulty in getting the bike around corners.
And these three are breaking up yet again. So here's Winterberg. He's off the wheel of Lavienne, who's down the road. And where's the bold Abdul Jafarov? Even further down the road. They don't seem to get their act together, do they?
It's like I've seen better amateur races. Like it's incredible. Like it just one guy won't get across on their own, that's sure. And the three of them, if they don't pull together, they're going to be pulled in by the bunch. So there's no, unless they're going to, I just can't see any sense in it at all.
Well, Abdul Jafarov is rather a bit like Kiyopouchi, I think, at time to time. He decides to do anything to suit himself, and he's hammered off. Well, I mean, they couldn't do it 3 up, so why do it 1 up?
I think Abdul, wants to have as much advantage as he can on the foot of Alpe d'Huez as possible.
Yeah, but we've still got some way to go yet, because I think we're just around about the 60-odd kilometre mark, and there's another 60 kilometres still to go. He's certainly putting the pressure on now, isn't he? Look at that.
He certainly is, but he has to think also every bit of energy used up on the flat, kind of unnecessary. It's the bit he's going to leave behind him for the hill.
Yeah, I like this sort of style, Steve, isn't it?
It's actually not actually his style. It's just the way he is. He's brute force and ignorance, really. He's a ball of energy.
Yeah, it's the way his elbows are sort of locked, aren't they? Nothing's moving except his legs.
in the sprint, you can imagine hitting a guy like that, like he just stays there like a rock. Like I was kind of going out with him one time in the early season for a hotspot sprint, and he just kind of, I tried moving him out of the way, like, but it was like kind of moving Mount Everest.
Yes, well, we watched the way that Muzio bounced off him early on in this race and just ended up careering towards the barriers. Yeah, and Muzio's no lightweight either.
Well, normally Muzio, like on the guys like him, even myself, like we're bigger than him, so you kind of feel, well, you kind of won't let him get the better of you, give him a push and kind of so he knows where he is, like, but I did it once. I didn't do it again.
Yeah. So these are the two leaders at the moment on this gentle climb up towards the third category. Côte des Agats covered some 53 kilometres, and Abdul Jafarov thundering along. I suppose this is where his weight and his size will help him. Whew. Having great difficulty holding the old camera down on those on the speedometers. Well, he's decided to go for it, and it's a long, lonely ride as far as he's concerned. Ooh. How many hot stopping moments do you get, Stephen, on the descents like this one?
Oh, you get down those descents so fast. When you get down them, you think, oh, how did I get down there? But he's actually definitely going down very fast at the moment. But I can't see him catching up on Gavastani and Bourguignon.
Well, the gap we're getting coming in, Mr. Brian Montgomery here, my statistician, is said after 53 kilometres, the gap is 3 minutes and 25 seconds to Abdul Jafarov and Winterberg and Lavienne, and the main peloton 3:45. So obviously he took off because there was only 20 seconds between himself and the gap closing up. But 3:25 on your own is a hell of a gap to go across, isn't it? So there are a couple of kilometres then from this top of this climb, the Côte de la Mure, and the peloton is well behind and beginning to try and reel in Winterberg and Lavienne. And there we are, the little flashing light showing that we're up the Côte de la Mure, kilometre 61.5. So that is just coming up towards the halfway point in the race. We're covering 125 kilometres a day, so it's 120, double that, 122 and a half. Yes, in fact, we're just coming towards the halfway point of the race at the moment, and the riders have been in the saddle then since they started out just at 20 to 2. That's about an hour and 20 minutes, an hour and half coming up, and these two riders still together. The sun is coming out. That's not going to help them, is it?
You can see that every time it goes up how stressing it is for the riders. You can see the speed going down. Like there's no, like it just happened to be, this stage is actually in the start of the Tour de France. They'll be going over this hill much more neatly, where you can see the fatigue on the riders now. The speed goes right down. There's no style.
Here's a lonely man. Well, he certainly decided to go for it, and now then, is it going to be worthwhile persisting with this one? He's trying to work out in his head. He's concentrating a lot though, isn't he?
A very, very straight face.
So the bold Abdul-Japarov, who has won the first stage, and he won the fourth stage as well. He's kept that green jersey right the way through. Le Mans had it for a couple of stages, but after the third stage, Abdul-Japarov made it his own property. And again, the Toshiba team manager, I've probably got to eat his words now, I suppose, with a gap like it is, but he still doesn't seem too happy with it, does he?
It depends on what they had, what strategy they had picked up, set out before the race. Maybe Bourgogne was going against everything that they planned out in the morning. Maybe they have a secret weapon, maybe to launch during the end, towards the end on Alpe d'Huez. But maybe they told Bourgogne to take it easy and just give it everything on Alpe d'Huez and try and get a high placing on the stage. But if he keeps going like this, like either they'll need about 7 or 8 minutes advance hitting the foot of Alpe d'Huez so he can finish in the front, or else they'd be caught and he might finish in the Ulcerans, which won't help anybody.
Yeah. Well, they've got 62 or so kilometres to sort that one out before they get up to the finish, so the concern about our leader is still there. The concern here about Abdul-Japarov as to what he's going to do, and this is the pack coming up behind him, trying to reel him and the rest of the riders in. I should think they're probably going to catch the other two and pull them back into the pack, but Abdul-Japarov has slipped off, and we're whipping the old camera around quickly. Is that a... Yes, here we are. Lavienne and Winterberg. Their day at the front is now over and done with. Looks remarkably calm and collected, Winterberg, but that's it.
I think Bourgogne must be coming from somewhere around here, because I've seen on a number of occasions his name is marked on the road. So maybe that's the reason why he's got to the front.
Irrespective of what his team manager says.
You see it here again, it's Bourgogne again, the road.
Yep. And that's always enough to stir people on. We've got another attack coming. It's the Castorama squad doing yet another one.
Frederic Vichot.
Yeah, that's interesting, isn't it? So as soon as his teammate gets caught, mind you, he was performing quite well yesterday, Vichot, and must be coming in. Oh, Bago. Ah, my mistake. So
my mistake.
Yeah, well, yes, our mistake. We'll share it. The Castorama team having sent one rider off at a time. It must be tactical cop, because Lavienne went off with the first little group, and now he's going. Another big tall chap as well. And the rest of the pack, oh, he's made quite a useful move there, so the pack behind have let him drift off. I think they're prepared to just grind away slowly but surely. And now the position is that we've got 2 men up in front, Ruth Cavastani together with Thierry Bourguignon. Abdul-Japarov is wedged between this pack you see here and the two leaders. They're somehow about 3 minutes ahead of him, and he's about half a minute to 40 seconds ahead of this lot. And just this one rider who slipped off the front, Bago, to try his luck. And they're still rolling along up this climb. And the gap then 3:10 in fact to Abdul-Japarov and 4:30 to Bago. So it's increasing all the time, persistent, aren't they?
Certainly are. They're getting along very, very well together. Like they now only have about 40 kilometres to the foot of Alpe d'Huez, but before that they have also the Col de Orion. So I suppose they want to get as far as they can before they get to it. And
more action from Castorama. I'm not quite sure.
Pascal Simon.
Yeah, what they're up to today. They keep firing people off. Is this some sort of stepping stone from Fignon, I ask myself?
That's it. They're trying to make the race harder now for the likes of Indurain, making his team ride as hard as they can. Keep launching the attacks, keep hoping to take away some guys, some useful guys, making the team riders ride and ride and ride, so that when they get to the foot of Alpe d'Huez, Indurain will be on his own.
And Peter de Klerk, who had the King of the Mountains jersey for most of the early part of the race when it was on the flat because he was sprinting up there. Looks one of his teammates coming up to join him as well, Brunel. This really is beginning to splinter now, and up yet again. It's testing the field, isn't it?
Certainly is. Like the Banestos now are starting to react, but they should keep a nice tempo going and hopefully reel them in later on. Because once again, these guys that are going here, they're all way down on general classification. So they're kind of falling into a trap. They must be careful not to fall into a trap, and the trap being that using up too much reserves before they hit the foot of Alpe-D HUEZ.
Pascal Simon, previous holder of the yellow jersey, if I'm most certainly correct, in the Tour de France, and the Lotto's getting 2 men up there as well to start and put the pressure on, and they've got Brunel with them up here as well, and Peter Klerk. So there's 2 useful little climbers as well. It's beginning to break up, isn't it?
It certainly is. Like looking at the profile, the road doesn't seem too difficult, but it's you can see the riders here, they're splitting up all over the place.
And yet again,
Brunel.
Yes, he's drifted off the front. He's used his teammate as a stepping stone, and he's got Bag up in front as well. So it looks like Abdul might have some help yet a while, the way these lot are coming up. And that's going to be just off the top of the climb of this hill then, the Côte de la Mure. And in fact, Bugenon comes from La Mure, so he's very much on his own doorstep. No wonder he's written his name all over the place. He probably owns the hill. You know, Thierry, yes, they've been and raided the local Castorama store for all the white paint, I should think. And he's out there in the lead. Nice, stylish rider, Brunel.
He's possibly one of the new hopes now of the Belgium Cycling Federation. After Crickelion now is possibly going to retire at the end of the season. But there's nobody really coming up apart from this guy, Brunel, because he's had very, very good results all through the year. He's climbing reasonably well. Possibly hasn't had as good Tour de France as he had hoped to have, but there he's going very well now at the moment.
Well, Brunel lying in last I thought about 50-something place. We just checked it out in a moment, but he's certainly got a nice style, and he's the highest placed Belgian in the race. In fact, he's moved up a bit now. He's 42nd overall, and the Colombians coming up as well. So the whole of the field begin to move up yet again. One or two of these men easing themselves at front. We don't see the Banestos. They've done a lot of work so far, and they've let it slip, haven't they?
They have. This is actually a breakaway group. I think it's the Carrera guys. They're working hard again, hoping that make the Banestos work as hard as possible before they get into Alpe-D HUEZ, hoping that Capucci can have a good strike at victory for the overall classification.
And these two having a bit of conversation. I suppose Thierry Bugenon probably waving to his family somewhere along the route. Because they don't seem to do it so much in the Tour de France. I mean, I've started being interested in the Tour way back in the early 50s. In those days, they used to allow a bloke to go through his town in advance, and he'd kiss his mother on the far side of the town, and then regroup afterwards. The race is so hard now, with Abdul Jafarov, the race is so hard now that the riders don't seem to be giving away anything, do they?
Well, the problem is the speed now is going terrible. Like, it's so fast that anybody who does want to stop, like, you got to have a very, very good motor under to get back on again, because the lads just don't wait for you anymore.
And so 4 minutes 20 seconds is the gap back to the main peloton from those two leaders. So they're consistently holding that gap, and the peloton don't seem to be too concerned at the moment. Oh, they've sent up one marker here, Banestos, and that's Fabrice Philippot, who had to do the same thing yesterday and then got summoned to go back and aid the chase. But right now I think that what sort of gap they got? The Myers sent their men up as well. They don't seem to be going too quickly. This is a little group drifting off the front. They started on that climb of the Côte de la Mure. We've covered 62 kilometres. It drops down very steadily now through towards Roison, and then right down to the bottom of the valley to Valbonnet, and then we start the climbing. So they've only got now something like about 15 kilometres of some gentle riding. They're halfway through the race. We've got a little downhill run towards the bottom of the valley, and then it'll start to continually virtually to go up. So their moment of respite, as one might say, is going to be not very long indeed, and then they'll start the long climb up towards the final couple of mountain climbs of the day. So still two men in the lead, this bunch chasing.
Eurosport.
Well, we just heard news that Yvon Madio has abandoned. He's retired from the race, so it's coming down. We already have lost Quevedo of the Amaya BH team today, and of course, even before we started, that accident that befell Lieti, who just turned on your sets, the man who won yesterday's stage. Unfortunately, as the Côte de l'Amour, there's the sign for the riders that let me tell you that Lieti this morning, when he was out just before the start, about 5 minutes to go, he unfortunately swerved to miss a child. He crashed into a car, and he's got a fractured femur, and also his collarbone's gone as well. So he's been helicoptered off to hospital, and he didn't start. What a disappointment, the Ariostea team, who scored 3 consecutive victories in 3 days. That is not actually a record, because the rally squad, in fact, have the record of 6 consecutive victories in 6 stages. That was way back in 1980 when Raas, Oosterbosch, Prem, Zollernmilk and Knetemann all won stages. In fact, Raas won a couple of stages, and Jan Raas now team manager of the Buckler team, and those were the days when the TI Rally squad were dominating the race in no uncertain terms. It's a team that eventually sort of merged itself into the Panasonic team that we see now out on the road, although we haven't seen much of them this tour. I think that the Panasonics must be a bit disappointed with their performance, Stephen.
I said it should be. Like, they'd hoped that Von der Est was going to have a good season this year. Like, he has had a good season, but hasn't shown it once again to expectations. And they thought also Ikimov was going to do things, and they based a lot of hopes on Ludwig and other riders, and this year just things haven't come right for them. It's possibly the first year in a long time the Panasonics haven't been to the fore in the Tour de France.
And there we've got the Lotto boys, Brunel out there at the moment with Peter de Klerk. Still the Belgians, I remember when I was way back in the 50s, used to follow the Tour. They were very dominant in the in Tour de France and progressively over the years. Of course, nations have their ups and downs, don't they? And of course, way back in Ireland, I know when I go over there for the Nissan Tour of Ireland, I see nothing but cyclists all over the place. I think you've got a vast crop of riders since you and Sean started to show the way.
Definitely, cycling it's like a circle that goes around and round and round, and for the moment Belgium is actually lacking in top class cyclists, but they're actually coming through with the likes of Brunel, the likes of Dirk de Wolf, who was second in last year's World Championships. Like England and Britain have their ups and downs. There are coming a lot of good riders now, I believe, in the English scene.
And these hello, he's got up there. He's got some help already. That was quick coming up, wasn't it? Because we didn't. Yeah, he jumped across very quickly indeed, didn't he, to Abdul Jafarov? I think Abdul Jafarov now with Patrick Eno with him. That's certainly helped him on his way. By golly, he must have gone some, because he's with that little pack, and it was about a half-minute gap up to Abdul Jafarov, but I didn't see him go, and here he is.
Yeah, he's very fond of doing that kind of thing. He's very fond of going away. We call him the kamikaze in the peloton, because he goes away, like he rides away on kind of kamikaze breaks. He go when there's headwind and kind of rain, lessons of rain, and he go away from the start maybe, or he go when everyone's not expecting anybody to go, and he'll do some fantastic rides.
And he's going for it today. He certainly decided that it's time for him to have a little flurry at the front. And look at the menacing dark clouds ahead of them. So let's hope the thunder and lightning keeps up, as Esno here with Abdul Jafarov, who's probably now thankful that he persisted with that little bit of burst at the front, because the other two chaps he was with, the Breakaway group originally, have been now absorbed. And here's these bright Maya colours. They're a financial company in Spain sponsoring cycle racing here, having taken over the old BH team. Cycle manufacturers are not very much into sole sponsorship now of bicycle racing. The time was when all bike manufacturers sponsored teams, and their name was the prominent and dominant one. Then bit by bit they became sub-sponsors, and now most of the manufacturers seem only to be supplying bikes and sometimes not very much cash, Stephen.
Well, this is the problem with the inflation once again. Like a cycling team, like I remember, I'm 11 years professional now, and a cycling team back in 1980-81 was costing about £700,000 for a season. Now the top professional cycling team is costing maybe 2.5 million pounds. So before, like the likes of Peugeot and these guys Mercier were sponsoring more than half the budget of a cycling team, where now they cannot get their money back by sales of bike sales alone.
And of course the big shift as well to mountain bikes in the use of bikes for relaxation. Although what is happening, of course, people are getting mountain bikes, then going back having two bikes now, a sports bike and a mountain bike, and getting the best of both worlds. But these chaps here on their very lightweight bicycles, pedalling away at the front, and this is the group they've been away. We came over that Col-Bayard after 5 kilometres being covered, and now we've coming up towards 65 kilometres. So 60 kilometres on their own at the front. I see Mr. Conti's got himself well and truly plastered on the road there. So he wants to come over from Italy to write his name on. When we get the Alpe d'Huez, I suppose there's no room for any of the concrete, the number of names they write up there. The tarmac has disappeared.
Especially on Alpe d'Huez, you get more Dutch names than the actual French names written on the road.
Yes, if you haven't got a Dutch passport, you don't get up the Alpe d'Huez, I think. It's getting that way at the moment. And they're all there. They've been there for the last couple of days, by the way. The procession down to Alpe d'Huez, the annual migration of the Dutch to the Alpe d'Huez has started some days ago to watch this big stage. And today we're going up it, I think it was 14th time actually, we're going up the Alpe d'Huez. Yes, 14th time today. And way back in 1952, it was used the first time when Fausto Coppi, my great idol, won the stage that day. And then it went on over the years to become very much a Dutch benefit. And really, over the last, 13 times since 1976, the Dutch have won it 8 times. And if they've got to get a move on, though, to catch these two, because the gap is growing gently all the time. And this is the little downhill run. I say we've probably got about some 10 kilometres of this, and then it does start to go up again, and that's probably when the hammer will go down behind. And Ruiz Cabestany on the front, Bourguignon behind him, travelling through some of his home territory.
There's going to be a lot of tired legs when they get to the foot of Alpe d'Huez, because like just right from the very start, from the Col-Bayard, like there's really been let off at all. There's been guys in the front, there's been counter-attacks. There's been the Benestos have been keeping a steady train on the front of the bunch all the time. So it's going to be an awful lot of sore legs when they hit the foot of Alpe d'Huez. Yeah.
Yes, you're right. They haven't eased up at all, have they? It's not been sort of fierce, not like the sort of phenomenal let's go flat out touch, but it's been constant, hasn't it?
But it's very, very sapping that they're not riding so fast, but they're not riding actually easy either. And the roads have not been dead flat either. They've been up and down. They've had the calls have been third and fourth category calls, not being very much to write home about, but the bikes just don't go over those hills on their own.
No, and the lads have got to pedal them, and we're looking here at the stage of the Tour de France today, which is stage 16, or only one rest day, and that wasn't much a rest day because they had to fly down from Nantes to Pau in the aeroplane, all except Mr. Zimmerman, who got himself sort of suspended and then got himself back in again. Actually, I understand that Jim Okovic has left the race for some reason, the team manager of Motorola, so they've had a bit of a comeuppance there, but Zimmerman got himself back in the race, and there's another man who's been out of action for a short while, Zimmerman. So these two here, Abjaftov doing the right thing, sitting on the wheel. And oops, oh dear, we get the spectators already starting to run alongside.
But Esna was more of a climber than Abdu, and I'm sure Abdu's just happy to sit there, wait till it goes over again, so that he can come through again on the flat. So
he's got a nice little combination going here, but they're not making too much inroads onto the leaders. Last year, Patrice Esno, he won 3 events actually. He won a stage in the Volta de España. He also won a race at Rouen and one at Riom. So he's, as you say, he's inclined to dash out and gets himself some sort of success. Last year when he's riding with the BH squad. Here is the ever present. Yeah, they're always having to go, aren't they? These Castramas today.
It's definitely a tactic for Fignon. Fignon's going to have you can be sure Fignon, if he's anything in his legs today, he's going to have a go. Like they're drawing out the Benestos all the time. They are. And
we're also seeing Jerome Simon come for it now. So is that a similar tactic as far as that Le Mans will be concerned?
Definitely. They're all like these, as I was saying earlier on, like coming up to the Col d'Orléans at 96 kilometers, which is only like 30 kilometers from the finish. Like the big guns are standing up these kind of riders, trying to keep the pressure on the Benestos, hoping to tire them out, keeping the bunch in one straight line as long as they can, hoping that when they hit the foot of Alpe d'Huez, Injuran will be on his own, or have very few teammates around them. Well, these two got themselves together. We've got further on the road another pair, one from Korea, that's Abdul Japarov together with Imaya Rada Esno, and way up in the distance, something thick end of 4 minutes in the lead. The two started all, Pelo Ruiz Cabestany together with Thierry Bourguignon. And they're going pretty quickly. It's wonder how far they are from the two up in front of them. See a little group of motor cars in front. This is always a problem then when the officials have got to control and keep an eye on each of these little groups coming up. And of course, from our camera point of view, we've got a moto one at the front.
looking after leaders. We have Moto 2, which normally hangs around the front of the main peloton to pick up little attacks like this, and Moto 3 at the back that's looking for incidents that might happen. But of course we've got them now in little groups all over the place, so we're going to have to watch very carefully to see who gets absorbed and who gets dropped off the back, because with only 3 cameras and about 4 different groups arrive, and somebody else coming up as well, and very quickly indeed. This is a superb burst of speed, jumping across that guy, whoosh, his stop, no.
Wilfred Peters.
Wow, God dear me.
Wilfred Peters, yeah, very, very fast rider.
Yeah. Well, what is he doing up there? His team aren't doing anything.
Well, he wants to get as far ahead as he can before up the ways as well, I think.
Oh, that's the tactic.
He's one of these guys that are like 6 foot plus.
Yeah.
So, but the gap's coming down, you can see again.
Yes, for the speed. So 3 minutes, 3:30, 3:40.
That's actually Esno Abdu Japarov, but the 2 guys in front, Gabastani and Bourguignon, has not actually come up on it yet.
No, well, they're still keeping about the same ratio
4
back
minutes.
to the main pack, you see, about 4 minutes, yep. So there's quite a good little break there. Yes, I feel for Mr. Peters. That used to be my tactics. Rush to the bottom of the hill and hang on for grim death and hope that you could catch him on the descent the other side, because you're sure as 6'4", everybody goes past you, I can assure you. Yes, Abdu Japarov's still in there. Esno doing all the work. Well, Abdu's been out there a long time. I suppose he's allowed a bit of freewheeling.
We haven't gone through very many big towns today. You can see it's all through the nature, through the green countryside, up and down the hills.
You don't get much time to take it in, though, when you're riding your bike, do you?
Definitely not. It's the first time I've seen it, so it's so beautiful.
It's most times through a sea of blood and haze, I suppose. Yeah. Well, what a way to earn a living, but you have to, as Alan Piper was saying the other day, you have to enjoy riding the bike to start out with it, and then you suddenly discover you can go rather faster than anybody else. Here we are. Did you enjoy your days cycling back in Dublin then, you know?
Oh, definitely. I think even now, like even 11 years on as a professional, you still have to enjoy it, because getting up every morning, going out and do the same thing, it's like going to the office. If you start regretting it, it's time to change the office.
Yeah. Now, a lot of people don't realise when you're really fit and riding a bike, it's a very pleasant way of going out, isn't it? Because I've done running and swimming and all sorts, and canoeing, and cycling, certainly, when you're out on your bike, you can see so much, and it's good exercise. You don't sort of get splintered shins and things. I mean, you can fall off and break something, but generally speaking, anybody who rides a bike for pleasure and fitness, it isn't a damaging sport, is it?
No, it's very, very good for every part of you. It's just when you're running, you can damage, like you say, your knees or your shins or your ankles, where on the cycling it's just you're going in suppleness, the same as Abdu is going here. You can see with which kind of grace he's pedaling the bike around. It's you just cannot damage yourself this way.
And Abdu Japarov, not perhaps the greatest size, chunky pedaler, but whizzing his bike along. And the gap we've got coming up here from Mr. Montgomery, my statistician, is telling me that we've got the Bourguignon and Ruiz. They are 3 minutes back to Abdu Japarov and Patrick Egenod. They've got 55 kilometres to go at the moment, and Vichot, Simon and Peters at 3:30, Peloton at 3:40. So that's a summary of the situation. We're on stage 16 of the Tour de France, this one going from GAP-ALPE-D HUEZ, 125 kilometres in all. We've got 55 kilometres to go, and this is where the tough stuff begins to happen, because we've got this little climb. There we are, going up towards Valbonnet, and that's after some 76 kilometres have been covered. It does start to gently slide up. You can see the graphic there. It's probably over-exaggerating all the mountains round about, but it does going to get a bit tough in about another 10 kilometres after Valbonnet. We hit the bottom of the climb of the Col d'Ornans, and these riders are certainly going to be, I think, probably reeled in by the chasing group behind. But good move then by Castorama and Zed to pop a couple of chaps up in front.
Well, another reason why Zed and Castorama might have put their guys in front is that if they can get like a minute or two ahead of the group on Alpe d'Huez, if Fignon attacks and gets across, well, at least he has one man in front to help him a little bit. Or if Fignon can puncture, or if Le Mans punctured, he'll have Jerome Simon there to give him a wheel or something. Yeah. It's a very, very important tactic.
Yes, because I think it was last year when Le Mans did puncture, didn't he, on one of the climbs, and he hadn't got anybody near him to help him with the wheel, and he had to chase like crazy once he did get himself sorted out. So those are all the tactics you're watching here on Eurosport's coverage of the Tour de France.
Eurosport, the Tour de France. This program is brought to you by Eurosport in association with ESO.
And these are the two riders wedged in between leading twosome. They've been out there an awful long time now with Bouillon and Ruth Kabastani. These riders at 3 minutes then back behind those two leaders. Abdul-Japarov here with Esno. Esno seeming to do most of the work, and we're back with the main pack here, which is some 3 minutes 40 seconds down on the two leaders. So the distance then still to go, something on about just over 50 kilometres. And Benesto's having, looks to me like a, oh, he's going to have a drink. I thought they were having a sort of a team conference for a moment. All the jerseys looking so much the same, because Benesto and the Buckler squad and Carrera all looking somewhat similar as you look back down the pack, but certainly Benesto is very much on the front still. Tactics seem to be working perfectly right, Stephen, at the moment.
Definitely are. Like it'll be interesting to see now when they hit this this climb at 96 kilometers. It'll be interesting to see what's going to happen. I'm sure there'll be more guys going off the back than guys going off the front.
Well, the string of retirement so far, 3 minutes 3:35. In fact, it's growing slightly. Simon Peters and Vichot 3:35. They're just these 20 seconds ahead of the main pack. And Abdul-Jafar Esno still 3 minutes. So there's a little bit, it's all been around about 4 minutes all the time back to the peloton. That's useful to think that those two riders can hold this pack just at that level. That's going to help them quite a bit, and I'd have thought it's going to take them all the time to catch them on the Col deNon. It's a big sweep down, so we might still see an upheaval yet in this one.
Oh, definitely. Like it can just go to show there's no rest at all in the peloton, because they're holding those two guys in front. They're hoping to get to Alpe-D-Huez ahead of everybody else with a minimum advantage of 3 or 4 minutes if possible. So they're not hanging around. So the peloton, you can be sure, not taking it by no means easy anyway.
Interesting though, they've got the careers on the front. Abdul-Japarov is away down the road. I suppose they don't mind if they do chase him down here, but they've got to start wearing down surely. But you know, their tactic, I mean, they've got Chiappucci in 4th spot. I find that rather surprising. What would be the reason for that?
Well, I don't know at all. It's very, very confusing. Like first of all, even if they haven't got anybody in the front, there's no reason for Carrera to ride in the front, because Chiappucci, like hopefully he will be on a good day today, but to get over Mutti and to get over Bugno. Like for example, you haven't seen any of Bugno's teammates near the front. You haven't seen any of Charlie Mutti's teammates in the front either, and those guys are very, very concerned about today's stage. So it's very kind of baffling altogether to see why, or to know why, the Carrera riders are riding in the front today.
And whilst these Carrera riders are on the front of the pack, we understand that Fignon has now caught up the peloton. He had, in fact, to change his bicycle, but he's back in the pack anyway. And thankfully, I presume that the speed is fairly constant, but not outrageously so, with his teammates there to help him. Laurent Fignon, problem with his bicycle, is now back in the pack.
But Fignon has actually changed his bike, but maybe it was not a problem. It's possible sometimes what we do is we start off on a normal bike, and then before like 50 kilometers to go to the finish, we get on light tires, light wheels, and a light bike. So possibly Fignon has actually changed onto this special bike that is possibly designed for the mountains.
And that's a tactic that Merckx started, wasn't it?
It was, yes, but now I do it often, and a lot of top riders do it, because starting off on light tires and light wheels on bad roads can be very, very punishing in the early parts of the race. So what you do is you keep your light tires and your light wheels and your light bike until the good roads come, or until the last 50 kilometers or so. And when the pace goes down, or you get a load on the peloton, you quickly change and you get onto this special bike.
So surely the saddles you're riding, then you must, I mean, they all must be the same sort, because that's the other thing about bikes, is some saddles I always feel are better than others.
Every bike each rider will have on the Tour de France, they're all identical. Like it's not like years ago where everyone used to ride the Brooks saddles and they changed the saddle every time they changed the bike. Whereas now the normal saddles only last a month, maybe 2 months, maybe, and you change them. So all the lads' bikes now, their saddles will be all the same mark, and they possibly not one will be used more than the other one.
So that's all change, and of course all got clipless pedals now too. The last chap to use toe clips and straps was Sean Kelly. I haven't spotted this tour whether he was riding with toe clips and straps, but they all seem to be on these clipless pedals now as well.
Sean is still on pedals and straps. Yeah. I'd say there's a half dozen riders in the bunch that still using toe straps and toe clips.
Well, I had a certain theory, actually, that there were so many riders who were getting some problems with their ankles and knees that originally the clipless pedals were so rigid. It's only a personal thing. I thought that probably there wasn't that sort of movement, but now they've designed them with a 5-degree of movement, haven't they?
Well, I was possibly one of the last of the top riders to start using clipless pedals, because I was always very much afraid of it. And I was afraid to even mention it to my doctor. And one day I said to him, my knee doctor one day I said it to him, like, because while I was being pushed to use them, I said it to him, well, Doc, what do you think about these pedals? He said, oh, Stephen, they're great, you must use them straight away.
Oh.
I said, why? He said, because when your foot is in a normal clip and normal plates, your foot is in the same position for the whole race. Whereas if it's your natural position, pedaling position, it's okay. But if it's not your natural position and it's off, it can always do damage. Whereas with the clipless pedals, your foot actually takes on its natural position, which may not be actually parallel to the crank. It may not be dead straight, but it's a natural position. And this is where so many problems can come from.
Ah.
Where in the last year or so, other companies, Look and Time and what have you, they've modified these clipless pedals so that your foot can move in either way, having a slight bit of lateral movement and still not taking your foot out.
So it's all modern technology helping these bike riders, and of course a lot of research and development going into it, and they aren't cheap to buy when you go to the shop to get them, but they are beneficial to bike riding. So much of new technology into bicycles, it's an expensive thing to do, but actually once you've got your bike, there's no petrol to be put in it, it doesn't pollute the atmosphere, it doesn't cost much to run, and it burns up the calories, keeps you fit and helps you lose weight, says he, losing a stone in the last 3 weeks. Here we go, the pack then on the way down, and it is still Benestos who've taken over from the two careers who seem for some reason to be stirring things up, perhaps not fast enough for Benesto's liking. Well, Andrew Japrov is certainly still in there, and Esno is on his wheel. This is the climb we're going up now, and up towards the top of the Col d'Ornon. This very steady climb. It's a second category climb as such, and when they get up the top of there, they've covered 96 kilometres, and I'd have thought if the bunch is going to do anything to explode, it's going to have to explode on the Col d'Ornon, because down the other side it's a very steep drop indeed, something in the region of about 14 kilometres down, and then like a yo-yo they go whoops back up the other side for another 14 kilometres of climb, and up they go up the Alpe d'Huez. In fact, it's 13.4 kilometres exactly, an 8.4% climb, and back on the front of the Carreras. Well, that's fair enough of them there, because they've got to look after the affair of Mr. Chiappucci, who's wearing the King of the Mountains jersey, but nobody's going to collect enough points to dislodge him at the moment, because we came into today's stage with Chiappucci having really hammered that green jersey, spotted jersey. He's at the moment got 176 points to Andy Hampton's 128. Hampton got within 2 points of him at one stage, but now he drifted away. LeBlanc is third at 109. Charlie Motte fourth, 108 points on the King of the Mountains competition. The Benesto team are leading over on general classification, just ahead of Castorama with Zed in third spot. And yesterday in the Classement de la Compétitive, Fignon, it was that got himself 8 points, and all those riders that were in that break that finally got reeled in, helping themselves to points as well. The Ariosters yesterday got the stage team victory, as one would expect. Abdul Japarov, 284 points on the sprinting section, the green points jersey. Jalabert 223 and Ludwig 163. That puts you in the overall picture before the big mountain comes again. Serious men doing serious work at the moment, Stephen. They don't look... there's no smiles in that pack, is there?
Definitely not. Well, they're getting very, very near to this mountain now, which we call Alpe d'Huez. And you feel it, the Carreras seem to be hitting the front just to keep the pace up a little bit. Every time the Benestos start easing off a bit, the Carreras just show to the front. So they're really trying to keep the pace going to keep the tire out at maximum, the Benesto riders.
And these are our leaders. We haven't seen them for some time. They're still pedalling on, and the one in the red, white and green colour, that's Thierry Bouganon. He's come through his neck of the woods. He's sitting on the front still, and with him fellow Ruth Cabastani. And this is back with the pack. We've been jumping around and missing the riders in between. We have got those little groups in between, but at the moment we're concentrating more on the pack doing the chasing down, and to see if they can raise their act just a little bit on this climb. It looks as if they're accelerating slightly through the town, and well, when we get to the Alpe d'Huez, you can pick a victor, because I'm sure that they've got to start. I don't think, actually, in the times I've been watching the Tour de France, I've seen so many people so close together, so near the Alpe d'Huez, Stephen, because normally by going over the bigger mountains, which they've done in the past, a pack like this has already... Oops, we had a problem. Oh, Esno has had a problem, and that is a great shame. He's changed his bicycle, so that's Esno is off and on another bicycle, and I think he's likely to desist, and that is a great...
It's a big problem, actually, because it's not his bike, he got it from the Mavic service car, where it's not his own bike, so he possibly has to go straight back to the back of the bunch to his own service car and change the bike. He must have broken the bike. I had a very serious mechanical trouble, because normally don't change a bike unless it's really, really bad. Yeah,
what a disappointment. No, he challenged, away he went, and of course now Abdul Japarov hasn't got anybody to help him either. So Abdul Japarov will have to decide. I should think he'll still roll on a bit, though, because we're getting toward the top of this climb, and he's done quite well to stay up there, but just the question is, how much has he hurt himself on that climb? Abdul Japarov, who by the time we got to stage 11 in this tour, was actually lying second on general classification, just some 51 seconds down. The time at 2:35, we understand, for the two leaders, back to Abdul Japarov, and just some 3 minutes back to this pack here. So it's coming down now, the gap between the leaders and this main pack. So Abdul Japarov for stage 11, just 51 seconds down on the leader, as it was then. And went up into the Pyrenees, and 2 days later he was 52 minutes down. We'll just give you some idea of how much time can be lost in the mountains. And he's about to be reeled in, I would have thought, by this pack here, who are going a lot faster. The speed certainly has gone up. They've now covered 80 kilometres of racing, and the riders then heading towards this this climb of the Col d'Ornon. Speed certainly accelerated now, hasn't it?
You can see from what we've been hearing coming over the phones and everything else, we can hear that the gap is coming down from Thierry-Bourguignon. So it must mean the speed is definitely going up behind. You can see also it's more in one line. You can see it here very pronouncedly as well. You can see that they're all more or less in one line now, so which means they're not actually hanging around.
No, and still Benesto having to do the work, and the rest of the pack looks like it's fairly compact behind them, and still this big group heading up towards the Alpe d'Huez. Certainly spectators, normally they can stand there for the thick end of an hour to watch the riders go up, but I think it might not take quite so long from front to back on this occasion, and possibly more chance for the riders to stay in and not get eliminated, because there's a time elimination again when they get to the top, but they're still on the way up towards the Alpe d'Huez.
Eurosport. The Tour de France. This program